You did an open house, 1 or 2?
I did 1 because I had to work my other job.
You had to work your other job. Okay, how did the open house go?
It was only 1 person.
It was only 1 person. Were you able to vibe with them a little bit?
I was, but she was looking for 17 years, so I wasn't.
She was looking for a house for 17 years. That's what I would call a D client.
Yeah.
When I make my list on prospects, I've been looking for 17 years. I'm like,
That's the thing.
Now, I did meet that same person out one time. It was a little bit different. I met a guy who said, yeah, Teresa, I've been through 3 real estate agents. And I'm like, do you actually want to buy a house? And he said, yeah. And I'm like, I'm your last real estate agent, because if you really want to do this, then let's get it done. And he's like, okay. I was like, okay. So maybe you should say, well, do you really, really want to purchase the property? Because let's have this be the last year you look. And then, because what did I show you with those statistics? What could you show that person if they'd have bought 17 years ago? They would have had $17,000, 17 years worth of equity buildup, 3% year over year if they were in the municipality of Anchorage. Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazingly significant. Mm-hmm. So every year you wait and you put off this decision. And by the way, I really suspect, although I'm not an expert, I do not have a crystal ball. I really suspect that rates are going to go up next month, probably significantly. They're probably going to kick people in the And if they don't go up significantly next month, I expect them to start creeping up on a rapid scale in order to go up 1 or 2%. So if I've got anybody right now who's on the fence, I really care about getting them off the fence. And one of the great ways this is on the news. I'm watching news last night. This isn't Teresa Block thinking this. This is economists going, the Fed has to raise rates right now. They can't. They've been artificially kept low for so long that there's going to be a day we're going to have to face it and start raising them up. So what do I want you guys to be doing? You should be talking about that, because you're not trying to be a Debbie Downer, okay? But you're letting people know, if you wait on this decision, the same house that you want to buy is going to cost you more for 30 years. Not more in the short term, more for 30 years in the long term. So there's a sense of urgency that we need to instill in buyers all the time. I call it the Today Show, or the fierce urgency of now. You can write that down, the fierce urgency of now. That's a good thing to talk about, is that you need making this decision. It isn't something that you have the luxury to put off for another 19 years. That's kind of scary. Why did you have it? Were you able to at all to ask, tell me why you've been looking for so long? Are we looking for the golden unicorn, the perfect house?
I didn't ask necessarily. I think that she might have just been a neighbor that was like lurking around.
Maybe a lurker?
Yeah. And then she lives in a condo that was kind of like around the street.
Gotcha.
And then she was like, oh, I've been trying to marry for 17 years, and she just wants a bigger house. Like, okay.
So, do you want to get on that? One of the questions I want to know is, do you want to start that process?
Right.
Because there's a process to go through, and at the end of the day, we can get you a bigger, better house. So, do you want to get going on that? Mm-hmm. And then you kind of separate. I call it separating out the wheat from the chaff. Yeah, I'm just somebody who's coming into your open house and wasting your time and drinking your coffee or eating your, cookies, or I actually am somebody who's serious. Okay, Tim.
See you.
What have you done? I've seen you best.
Let's see. The last thing, I had a few things. I had my showing for my listing in Settlers Bay.
Tell me.
I have a listing in Settlers Bay, 3-bedroom.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it's a pretty nice house, $285,000. And so I've had 2 showings on that.
That's good.
Had offer. It was 2 weeks ago. I had an offer on it, but it didn't go through.
Okay, tell me why the offer didn't go through.
Because my client is stuck on a price point.
Yep.
And she just will not go below it.
Okay.
And she should have just accepted it.
She should have taken the offer.
Yeah.
So when you have a client who's stuck on a price point that they will not go below, what are some things that you can counteract to tell them? So are you able to share with me, and this is a safe place for you to be able to talk about, we all keep information confidential. So what was the offer, and what price did she want?
The house is $285,000. She doesn't want to go below $275,000 at all.
Okay.
And before I took this listing, when she was with the other person, the house was listed at $275,000. But I'm confident I can do better.
Yeah. Right.
Start off higher, top down. And whatever.
Is that a good strategy?
Well, it started off at $285,000 with the other listing, and they lowered it.
Right, because it wasn't getting any offers.
but
Yeah.
somehow I got an offer though. But
Yeah. What was it? What did the offer come in at?
they wanted it was what was it, 267,
Okay.
and for some reason she just wouldn't take it, and I was like,
Okay, but so did she counter the offer?
no, she didn't even counter.
Okay, real estate 101, and please come call me when you're in this situation. You never let your seller not counter an offer. It's not good protocol, number
Okay.
one. It's not good business for you as a licensee. Come sit up here. Don't be sitting in the back of the room. Come with everybody. But you never, and you just tell them, not countering an offer is not acceptable. Even if you want to counter it at 285, that's fine. But we do not counter offers. Okay? Because and as a matter of fact, you might want to, and I don't know how long ago this was, but you might want to call that listing licensee, because when somebody does make an offer on a property, they're serious. They're not just tire kicking, but you should counter the offer.
Okay.
So find out if they found another property or if they're still interested.
I sure will.
Okay, because you never walk away from not countering an offer, and that's super important for you to know. And you tell a seller when they're like, "I'm so insulted, I'm not going to do it." You say, "I'm sorry, this is not an option for you."
Okay.
We will counter the offer, even if we counter it at full price and terms, to let somebody know that you're just going to stand in your glory about how wonderful your house is, and that's fine. But we will counter offers. Okay.
And what about, like, could you work something out, closing costs?
Of course.
Like, she didn't want to.
She was just,
Because I'll tell you what happens, people get insulted. It's very easy to hurt a seller's feelings. And if you haven't been a seller, let me tell you, it's really easy to hurt somebody's feelings. So it's our job to let's take the emotion out of it. You're upset right now, I get that. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to be upset. Go, rant, rave, scream, yell, do whatever, okay? All right, 9 minutes, 59 seconds. Okay, done. All right, now what are we gonna do? Now we're gonna face the reality that, oh my God, you have an offer on your property. This means that somebody wants to purchase it, okay? So now let's deal with what is. This is not the price that you wanted. However, and this is how I talk. I don't talk about other people. I don't talk about other companies. I say the market has rejected the price on your home. Not me, not buyers, the market. The market talks to us. You guys get that? The market is talking to us. If you don't get showings on your property, the market is talking to you. It's telling you that all of us, because a lot of us have been in business a really long time, when I click on listings, sometimes one of the first things I do, I'm like, oh, new licensee. Okay, that's why it's 10 high, or that's why it's 20 high, or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. They don't, they're not either somebody who doesn't list a lot or somebody who's not strong in their listing presentations now. I'm not saying you're not strong. I'm not throwing any rocks, but I am saying the market talks to you. The market talks to you by showings. If you get, and here's what you know, ready? If you have a listings that gets 20 showings and no offers, what do you know?
Too high.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Something is wrong. If you have multiple showings and no offers, something's wrong. Period. It could be smell. It could be when they get in the house. It could be what? It could be neighbors. It could be the Cujo lives next door. It could be, it could be the traffic. Anybody? Have you? I lived near Coolis Air National Guard Base. Okay, C-130s used to take off over my house all the time. Now, my father was an airline pilot. I loved planes. I don't mind that a bit. Okay, but other people sometimes would stay in my house and they would say, oh my gosh, I've also owned property close to railroad tracks. Has anybody ever owned property close to railroad tracks? And people are sitting there and they're grabbing their chair going, oh my God, what's going on? And just like, oh, that's a train going by. But some people can't handle that. So you might need to know what the problems are. And that's why you should be so diligent about asking for feedback when people show your listing so you can find out what people are thinking. And you should also be so diligent about giving feedback when another licensee shows your list, when you show property to buyers. You need to be very diligent about giving feedback. And we need to give constructive feedback, or if it really is, you guys, it just isn't the right house for them, the floor plan doesn't work. But you need to, if there is anything that, and I'm always trying to tell somebody something that they could do to improve the listing. Gosh, your photos online just don't give this house justice. Or gosh, I can tell you, you haven't mowed the backyard, it looks like for 3 months, and that's a real turnoff to these people. They're not looking to go in and have to, spend $600 on a landscaper to mow the backyard. So you can really help people out. Dog poo. it looks like you've never picked up dog poop at this part. I mean, that's a real turnoff to these people, or, whatever. But give feedback, but give constructive feedback, give the kind of feedback that somebody can change. But if the house just is, gosh, sorry, this isn't the right property for them, not big enough, there's some things that people can't change.
I'm wondering, does she really want to sell? Does she really want to move?
She wants to move.
Is she in a have to move situation?
No, she doesn't have to move, and the house is paid off. She
Okay.
just wants to move to Florida back with her family
Okay,
because there's no one up here
okay.
for like she has no
So
family.
it's
So
interesting, because even if you guys would have met halfway between 275, I mean, she could have just been.
She could have been done.
yeah,
But that's your
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
That's your job to sit there and say, look, okay, you have 10 minutes to have your pity party and to get upset. Now we need to deal
yep,
with this.
you're totally correct.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just need to deal with this. But never be ashamed to go back to the person who wrote the offer and say, hey, are they still interested in this house?
Okay.
Because I've had a come to Jesus talk with this person and said, and find out, what is her price? What is her price? It could be too late. Maybe they went and found, and if they did go and buy another property, see which one pended.
Mhm.
Because, and then see if it's, and I don't know how long it's been, but see, you can track if somebody tells me, and this especially, like, think about condos, guys. So when somebody picks another condo over my condo, and I'm a listing agent, that's a killer. Somebody picked another condo. They should have picked my condo. They picked a different one. But I watch that condo. I watch it till it pens and it sells. And I also will call the other licensee and say, hey, I've got a condo similarly situated. But hopefully I would have been in that condo and I would have known the positives and negatives, right? And I would have known that, oh my gosh, it's bigger, or oh my gosh, it's much more tricked out, or it just has a better feature or whatever, or the rooms are bigger, or they've decorated it nicer, or it smells better, or, the list could be, it has updated lighting. Oh my gosh. Anybody watch 60 Minutes last night? You guys have got to watch 60 Minutes. I've been saying this for years. Anybody want to back me up? Who took pre-licensing with me? You did. Okay, what have I been saying for years about an environmental concern? I said there's going to be
laminate.
there's going to be or what? Laminate flooring. I said it. So guess what? There's a flooring, lumber liquidators, whatever,
Yes.
all across the United States,
I heard
who's
about
been
that.
buying laminate from China, which has 10,000% higher emission standards than is legally allowed, and it's making people sick,
You get a prize.
right? Just call me a genius. Just say it out loud.
Teresa the genius.
There you go, I'm done. I'm okay.
I heard one of my.
I knew it. I'm like, there's going to be something that we're putting in our houses right now that is going to be making people sick. It's going to be the asbestos or something of the future. And there's two things I can think of right now that could be problematic. Okay, I'm going to stand here for a minute. You should have heard me last night. I was like, I knew it.
I used to say that.
Oh, really?
I used to tell my husband.
What's really going on with that crazy?
Reading about
Yeah.
that.
Yes, please do.
I have a new construction listing. It's probably going on 40, 50 days.
That's okay,
But because it's not finished.
right? That's fine.
Is that common on
Yes.
new construction that they
Yes,
can't see everything?
yes,
spring
yeah,
up
people
and-
can't. Do they have pictures of the property when it's been done?
What's been done?
No. Let me try one more time. Do they have another property that they finished? Okay, that's a problem. I mean, and you can't fix that. So a lot of people cannot, a lot of people cannot visualize. Even I've been doing this job for a really long time, and even I can stand in new construction and I still can't. The only thing I can tell is I can look at rooms and go, this is really dinky. I can tell that, but I really can't tell.
That's how hard it is.
Oh, that's pretty good though. That's pretty good. Is there any other floor plan? There's lots of these type floor plans though.
I brought the floor plan on.
Yeah.
The drawing of the floor
Right,
plan.
but people can't read floor plans. I mean, that's a one-dimensional image, you guys. People think in
I
what?
mean, I know it's words.
2D at least, and some people can think in 3D.
I could get pictures of other houses he's
Yes.
when we were finished.
That's what I would do.
inside.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
To give people and just say an idea of finishes, not,
Okay. Yeah.
that would be smart. Does that make sense? Okay.
We built our house.
Okay, so you've got an, perfect.
And so you have it listed currently, or you're,
Oh, I listed it like, in July,
Mhm.
or even July.
and
Not
where
been much
is it?
action, but Tim Brady,
Yes, lovely.
climbs through it, and, I just asked him his feedback and stuff, he gave it to me, and he said it should be below, drop down to like 260.
Mm.
265.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's
I
not,
dropped it down to 259.
but well, okay, it's
Well,
not,
because,
yeah.
okay, but
Yeah.
I really value
okay,
Tim's opinion.
Yep, he's a really good
The
guy.
houses around there are older and
Yeah.
haven't been
updated,
well kept.
gotcha,
I mean, they're not junkyards.
gotcha.
And where is it?
I'm in Mission Hills, I've been in
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the area well enough to talk about it with you. Okay, okay. So you've got an offer, we're gonna go back and revisit that, so that's what you've done in real estate since I've seen you last. What have you done in real estate since I've seen you last?
Oh my gosh.
What'd you do
Working on this listing.
Okay,
It's hopefully happen this week, waiting for Tim to get out.
Excellent.
Daddy on it.
excellent,
Realized there's paperwork I was missing.
okay. Okay, big church weekend, did you get your sphere together, did I ask you? By Friday, we were gonna have your sphere
Oh,
done?
yeah. I got into it. I think I'm down to my daddy.
Excellent,
Yeah.
I love to hear that. Did you
Yeah,
get your
I'm
sphere
still
done?
getting the word out.
Sphere, did you get your sphere put together?
I have a little bit more people than I did
Okay.
on Friday,
How many do you have?
maybe like 40.
40, okay, how many are in your sphere? 270 is great. You put your sphere together? 65, okay. So in reality, what, are you put on the spot?
What?
Did I put you on the spot?
No, she knows everybody.
I do know it.
Well, she has a little bit, she has a little bit of a leg up on you and me. And they probably like her and will probably work with her.
Yeah.
It's probably a genius move if you're a pastor's wife to become a real estate agent.
That's true.
That's probably a genius move.
They're gonna sail right into it.
Right, right.
Okay,
Okay, so you missed, we had HSA come in on Friday. I'm sorry you missed that. What'd you get out of your HSA?
It's good, it's a good thing to encourage.
Would be a good thing to encourage. Go ahead.
I did call, but when I listed this week,
Yeah.
I never really explained to him about
Sure.
it. And his response, I said, it's your decision.
Sure, and it
But
is.
Jack White promotes this, it does help the sales, and I did all that, but he just said, I have put so much money for this house.
Sure.
I'm just not going to, everything's just so good, and he chose not to, but.
That's,
I presented it.
right, and guess what? Guess whose decision that is?
His.
That's his. And I'm not, you've done your due
But it was
diligence.
nice to feel knowledgeable,
Good,
right after that, I went to the office and called it.
great, good for you.
Oregon,
Excellent.
California.
Okay.
But anyway, just to say. this
Well,
is-
and then,
These are the positives, these are how it will benefit you.
excellent. And then the other thing for you to always let somebody know is don't be, and tell them, don't be shocked and surprised if an offer comes in asking for home warranty.
Oh, good.
So
I didn't
So
say
that's a next conversation later on. You don't have to run and go call them and tell them that, but don't be shocked and amazed if an offer comes in asking for home warranty. Because if I'm working with a buyer, what's one way that I know that I can put a shield between me and that buyer is a home warranty. So, and if I can get a seller to pay for it, or I can include it on the purchase and sale agreement, that's a really great thing for me to do. And some buyers will be so excited about it that they'll want it. Also, you guys, for folks who are really, they're using every last dime they have to get into a house. I really stress these. I really do, because I can get it paid through closing. Sometimes I can get it paid as closing cost. Gosh, you guys, that can be such an amazing, paid at closing. Yeah, for sure. Okay, what have you done in real estate? You studied, I heard.
Yeah, and then Friday I went out and delivered for a bunch of.
Okay, so keeping flyer boxes full. How big of a deal is it, do you think, to a seller that their flyer box is full?
It's a big deal.
Okay,
I think, because they want to know, what if somebody comes in, well, no, there's nothing there, and this.
You're slacking.
you don't look like you're doing a very good job.
I did fill up flyers for Dan, and I went into that house, and I do an open house on Saturday, so I went in and looked.
Good.
try to wrap my head around it.
Are you doing open houses at that property?
I haven't done any open houses
Is there a reason?
because the lady doesn't want to leave.
Oh,
That's why.
that's a good reason. Why doesn't she want to leave?
She just, even the last 2 showings I did, she didn't want to leave the house.
Okay, that's an issue.
Yes, yeah.
And have we had a come to Jesus talk with her
I
about
talked to her, a serious talk to her.
Yeah.
I had a serious talk to her about that.
Yeah.
And she considered leaving next time we have a showing, but she's just, yeah.
That makes sense now. I mean, I'm just thinking psychologically.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to leave. She won't accept less than a certain amount.
This, okay, and can I tell you, Tim, something?
Yes.
You're dealing with a seller who doesn't want to sell.
Okay.
Okay, just FYI between you, me, and the lamppost. If they won't leave, if they're not excited to get an offer, she doesn't want to sell. And not that she doesn't have to sell, and not that she's not going to sell,
Mhm.
but she doesn't want to.
Okay.
And that's
Yes, that's what-
you know, does that make good sense? I mean, and I will tell you, there was a time when I had to sell a property and I really didn't want to sell it.
Mhm.
And I was selling it under duress. And then what I wanted to do when I did sell it, I wanted to take all of the equity out of it and I wanted to go buy more property.
Mhm.
And I couldn't do that. I was not a happy woman. But I mean, I was in a situation, you know, financially, I had to sell. It was a non-optional event for me. Very unhappy person. And you will meet sellers like this, you guys. She's not unusual. Please don't, I mean, she's not like rare. There's a lot of people who really don't want to, you know, people who want to move or who have to move, guess what they're doing?
Moving?
Doing everything you suggest.
They're doing everything you suggest. They're packing boxes. They're looking for ways to make that offer work. They're especially, and not that I don't understand, I don't want to, what's the difference between 267 and 285?
Quite a bit.
Over 20,000 bucks,
Yeah.
right? Okay. I don't want to throw $20,000 away. $20,000 is a lot of money. I mean, I don't want to throw that away, but what can we do? And a lot of times, FYI, what do you imagine the buyer was looking to try and get her to do?
Counter.
Not only counter, but counter where, do you think? In the middle.
Yeah.
In the middle. So I would bet you, but that's a lot of times what buyers will tell you is, well, let's offer, and I'm throwing out a number, $20,000 less, so then we can meet at 10,000 higher. I mean, then I'll get 10,000 and then, so we'll meet in the middle. And I always say, sometimes sellers won't do that. I mean, like you are giving a humiliation offer, some people will get really mad at a humiliation offer. And I'm not saying that your seller will actually consider looking at another offer from that person, but you should see if they're still available. Okay, anybody have any questions or anything that's come up over the weekend that you wanted to talk about?
I had 2 things.
Yeah.
Sorry. You had mentioned last week you were going to talk about the pros and cons of being a team.
Yeah, for sure.
And then at some point, we don't have to go over it now, but I was studying it. I would like a little bit more clarification on the waiver of right to be represented.
Not a problem. We're actually going, you know what? You want to know? We're going over the AREC today.
Oh, yay!
Yay, yay.
I
Okay,
just had a little question.
Sure.
This gentleman out of state guy that we're getting ready to list, he's been doing a lot on his home, and he asked me just a question, and as a newbie, I really didn't know the answer, so I'm gonna get back to him.
sure.
But there's a light switch in a closet
Okay.
that has never worked.
Okay.
And his father came and switched out the light switch, and it still doesn't work.
Okay.
He was wondering about home inspection, what would happen, because he doesn't want to hire an electrician, that would be his next step.
Gotcha.
He doesn't want to spend any more money, he might not to, but he's done it all. He asked, can I just put a flat plate on that and will it pass inspection?
I can't answer that question, but he certainly is welcome to put a flat plate on it, but he also probably, home inspectors love to know what something is,
Why is there?
why is there a problem? Yeah, so I can't, and here's what you say, I don't know whether or not that will be a problem or not. We certainly could put a flat plate on it. It is, unless it's for a crawl space or, you know, it's two switched or somebody was completely incompetent when they put it in. And oh, by the way, if you didn't have an electrician do it, totally possible that somebody has not wired the outlet correctly.
And I can say this is for how.
Yeah, totally possible. I have my home that when it's 1974 house, and just so you know, some of the switches, they're meant for lamps. They're meant for the bottom for when you plug in lamps. So when you walk in the room, you can turn on a switch and lamps come on.
Mhm.
Did you guys not know this?
I lived in a house.
Yeah, so I moved into a house, are you ready, that had no lights in the bedrooms. No lights were in the bedrooms.
A lot of living rooms are like
A lot of
that.
living rooms, same thing, so they're made for lamps when you go in and you turn that light on. So you might try and take a lamp and plug it into the top and the bottom and see if that switch works lamps. Not saying it does,
That's a good idea.
just it could be a possibility.
You know, I was raised in the same house all my life, and it wasn't until a few years ago I realized that that was a situation in my parents' living room. All of a sudden I realized it. I mean, I was like, I've been born and raised in that
Sure,
house.
sure. So, I mean, some things like that can happen. Also, it can just be faulty wiring. I mean, it could just be like an old wiring. Yes, of course, he could try and put a plate over it. Maybe it'll pass inspection. I cannot answer that question. Okay? And if it truly doesn't operate anything, if we're not able to kind of figure out what it does operate, then yeah, go put a blank over it. I'm not, but again, it depends on the home inspector and how deep they're going to dive into it. Also, some light switches operate things that you don't know anything about. They might operate lights in an attic. They might operate lights in a crawl space. The person who put it in had this giant dream about what they were doing and just didn't share it with everyone else.
It could be like
Yeah, go
an
ahead.
outdoor,
I'm sorry, what?
an outdoor like plug-in for your
Sure,
car.
it could be an outdoor plug-in for a car. I mean, it could be any kinds of different things. And you're just going, you have no idea because nobody shared with you what they were doing, right? And then you're like, oh, shocker. Okay, and you may never find out what it is. It could also just be random. It may not work. Now, what is the thing that you do not want to do with that? You
Become
do
an
not,
electrician.
you do not want to become an electrician. You do not want to open it up, and you do not want to decide whether or not it's live wire or not. Okay? Because do you remember I told you last week? What did I tell you?
So that one guy died.
Okay, how did that guy die?
He touched a
Oh,
open
no.
wire.
He walked into the garage. People were going, stop, 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 because I wonder what this is. He touched it. It was 220 live, and he died. Not a nice way to die either, FYI, being electrocuted. Didn't.
Plus, I would be hesitant to ever, like I would say to the person, you have, at this point, we've got two choices. Get an electrician,
Mhm.
you can cover it, but I can't tell you which one.
No, and I can't tell you whether or not a home inspector isn't going to find that to be, some elusive thing that they just decide
Right.
that they need to figure out. Hopefully it's in a closet and they'll just be like, nothing, and they'll just keep on moving. But I can't tell you that they won't, decide that they need to figure it out. Okay, so some of the things that you know a little bit more about those types of things. All right. Anything else exciting and new? Anything since I've seen you last that you want to talk about? No?
I quit my other job.
Huh?
Quit my other job.
High five! So you're going to be here all the time? We're going to
Yes.
love to have you.
Oh.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
This is it.
Yeah, this is it.
Okay, so so here's what I heard you say is I got to make this work.
Exactly.
Okay, I gotcha. So we're going to go back, you guys. We are going to finish the purchase and sale agreement. I'm going to talk about the AREC first before we go into the purchase and sale agreement, but I've got some stuff with Mike Ferry that I want to go back with. Anybody going on Mike Ferry and looking at it on your own time?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Sure.
Because first of all,
Yeah.
this is probably a dumb question.
Not a dumb question.
Like where and who is he?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I explained.
You probably did.
Okay,
You
good.
probably did.
Okay, so Mike Ferry is probably one of the oldest real estate coaches in the United States. He coaches the top producing licensees across the country, including the #1 real estate licensee in the country. The guy's name is Alan Domb, D-O-M-B. He is a condo guy in Philadelphia, and he only sells like 4 city blocks of condos. And he's the #1 licensee in America. And you will not list that property. He'll buy it and list it himself.
And his what? Oh, no.
Alan Domb.
You were telling us about this other lady whose husband was in HR for like BP or something.
FedEx.
That's right. And
Mhm.
all she ever did was do referrals. Yes. I remember
Brilliant,
that.
freaking brilliant, right?
So,
Okay, let's see. So Mike Ferry has been a real estate coach. He started a business helping other people get good. Am I telling you you need to go get a coach? No, I'm not. And why would I when all this stuff is free? I would only buy, I mean, I think, again, remember I told you, when do you need a real estate assistant?
Oh, when you're consistently doing at least 3 a month, 3 something.
Or 30 transactions a year, or 3 a month. Then you have my permission to go get a real estate assistant. If you're doing it beforehand, I just don't think you're practicing good time management. There's nothing exciting about, I mean, learning how to process and offer you guys, that is the simplest thing under God's green earth. It's really not that complicated. And the idea that you have to have somebody else go do it so you can do 3 transactions a month, I'm not buying it. It's just like, I'm not buying it. So there's other coaches, you guys. His son is Tom Ferry, who used to work in his business. He's a little bit more cutting edge. Mike does not believe in social media. He's also 70 years old, okay? He also doesn't believe in buying bus benches. Okay, does anybody hear why he doesn't believe in buying bus benches? Say what?
Nobody takes the bus.
Because people who take the bus probably can't afford a house. You can't afford a car, you probably can't afford a house. That's probably not where you want to market yourself. Now, I would tell you that the bus benches at, or the benches at
The grocery stores.
people tell me are super lucrative. Like, or, have you ever been pushing around your grocery cart and seen real estate licensees there?
Yes.
There are people who tell me that those are highly lucrative. I have a hard time believing it. I would think that would be something that you would have to actually track, and you'd have to say, how did you find me? And somebody would have to say, I was pushing you around in my grocery cart, for me to believe that, but I'm a person who has to see if I'm going to expend that gigantic amount of money, and I don't know how expensive bus benches are, but I believe Stephanie Gamble has some in Wasilla, am I correct? And she says she can trace 5 deals a year, because I asked her, I think it's a bus bench outside a grocery store.
Yes, it's outside of Safeway, at least there's one in Fulton, I see her face.
And she says she can trace business to it.
Or Commerce, I guess.
And I'm a believer, if you can't trace business to it, I'm not doing it. If I can, I will. Okay?
That was, that guy's mother hired an electrician, came in this morning and fixed the lights.
Oh, so it was a light switch.
It was all good.
Yay.
Yeah, it's those people that do everything you could possibly ask.
There's,
Above and beyond, they want to sell.
that's wonderful. Okay. So look at how many videos you could see. Here's a coach. People pay thousands of dollars. Look at how much stuff you can get for free. And you know what I do? Literally, when I am in my office and nobody's around, I'll put on a YouTube video. Do you know why? And it's always on sales. I'm not doing this for kicks and grins.
You know why?
Because it seeps in. It does.
If you get one, this is first of all, it's all free. If you get one good idea out of here, do you know what that can do for your business? One good idea, okay? So we've been watching these. Do you guys remember if we did lead follow-up? I'm wondering if I did lead follow-up.
We've only done, well,
4.
I'll take that back,
You're
because I
done?
missed a few classes.
I'm gonna start here. We're gonna start on this one.
What bootcamp is this one? 9?
9. Do I need to turn it up?
Yes, please.
How to learn a canned presentation or script. A lot of you are all in your offices now with your staff. A lot of you do it individually. A lot of you are involved in using the scripts and the dialogues we teach. But what we want to do is we want to help you upgrade and become really an expert at knowing what to say to a client. When you know what to say, your confidence goes up. When your confidence goes up, you go out and take action. So today, we're going to talk about learning canned presentations and scripts. I want to start with this one. Now, first of all, remember, normally these come on 12 to 15 minutes a week. This is going to be closer to 30. Prepare to sit a little bit longer. prepared to learn.
20 minutes.
I started on a question, what is the value to you and your customer in learning a canned script or canned presentation? And the first thing I wrote down is a great script is 100% customer oriented and benefits the customer throughout the entire presentation. Anytime we're talking to a customer, we want to make it as much oriented to them. And you'll notice with the scripts we offer, they're always a series of questions. All of our scripts are a series of questions. And when you have questions, you engage the client in conversation and thinking. And whenever you engage them, then you're, of course, working in their favor. So the purpose of learning a canned script is to engage the customer and show them the benefits of what you do. I also wrote down the advantage to you or your customer. The scripts are automatic in their response. You don't have to be thinking all the time about or worrying about what you're going to say. When a customer says, I want you to cut the commission, you want to just smile and say, no, any other questions. You don't have to stop and hesitate and say, well, you want me to cut it? And, well, I don't like to do that. And boy, that really makes me nervous. You don't want to get involved in that. See, it has to be automatic in response. We also wrote down a canned presentation script is uninterrupted in its flow, meaning you're not going to be thrown off the track when they ask you a question or present a problem to you, which is very, very important. Uninterrupted, you can just go through the script, whether it be the pre-qualifying a buyer or seller, or handling an objection, or doing some lead follow-up or prospecting or the presentation itself. You can just go through it very naturally because it's part of who you are. So I wrote down a question then. Why do most real estate agents resist using canned presentations and scripts? Because see, guys and gals, you know this. 90% of all the real estate agents we talk to fight us every single step of the way. Even all of you that are great coaching clients, I don't understand why you fight it so long. You know, you're paying us to help you, to teach you, to guide you, to coach you, to motivate you, to help you move forward. Then you fight us over learning a basic script. Watch, when you call somebody on the phone, how does this money, when do you plan on moving? And you want to change it, you want to edit it, you want to screw around with it, you want to say, well, I don't like that. Wait a minute, guys and gals. We have 38 years of working with real estate people and helping people build successful, huge careers. Don't fight it. So why do we fight it? A, our egos get in the way, because we think we know a better way. Second, we're afraid the script may make us look like a salesperson. We want the script to have you look like a salesperson. We don't know what the scripts are, therefore we can't use them. We don't see real estate as a professional sales activity. Scripts take us out of our comfort zone. Very common. Well, Mike, I've been in real estate for 10 years and I've always done this. Okay, but you're doing 15, 18 deals a year, correct? Yes, I am. And you want to get to 30, 35, right? Yes, I do. Do you have to change your behavior? Yes, we do. Okay. You used to let the customers control the conversation. Very, very common problem. Letting the customers control the conversation. Scripts don't allow time to bond with the customer. There's still sales training going on today, where they spend the entire day, week, and month with you, teaching you how to bond. I love your carpet, I love your drape. Let's become one. Walk in behind your eyes, walk down your spine, become one with you. What a bunch of crap that is. A doctor doesn't do that, the pilot doesn't do that, the attorney doesn't do that, the accountant doesn't do that. The seller wants to sell their home. Walk in and know what to say and make the presentation to cause that to happen. Then I wrote down, we're simply too lazy to learn them. That's why we don't use canned presentations and scripts. It's going to take time. You're going to invest time, right? Okay, man. You probably don't have anything else to do but invest some time in learning your scripts, for goodness sakes. I wrote down independent contractors. You can't tell me what to do. At some point, you have to get over that particular thought process if you want to learn and grow. And then, of course, using scripts may cause us to succeed. And many people are really afraid of success. Watch, our egos are too big. We're afraid the script may make us look like a salesperson. We don't know what the scripts are, but we can't use them. We don't see real estate as a professional sales activity. They take us out of our comfort zone. We're used to letting the customer control the conversation. They don't allow us time to bond. We're too lazy to learn them. We're independent contractors, and they need process to succeed. Guys and gals, listen carefully. You got to identify What is the reason you're fighting learning the scripts and dialogues that really do make you a great salesperson? So then I wrote down another question for you. What are the advantages to you or the prospect or the customer if you use the scripts that we offer? Well, I wrote down first, they give you the confidence to do your job. See, have you ever driven by a for sale by owner and not stopped? And the answer is yes. And I say, why didn't you stop? And you're going to say, well, I was busy, I was on my way to your appointment. No. We don't stop because we don't know what to say. See, if you have a script for the for sale by owner, you can stop your car, knock on the door, and you can present yourself. So scripts give you the confidence to do your job. Second, by using a script, we don't waste the prospect's time with just a bunch of nonsense conversation. On a listing, you should no longer be in that house more than 20 minutes. The average real estate agent's in the house for an hour and a half. You're wasting a lot of people's time. Third, the scripts allow you to stay focused and in the present moment as to what has to be done. Fourth, the scripts allow us to discuss what's important to the seller and nothing else. Fifth, they provide consistency in what we say. I got to tell you, the most important part of being a good salesperson is being consistent with what you say. Next, the agent remains in control, as a salesperson should, and scripts provide information so the customer can make a valid decision. But then I want to step further. The scripts, when you use them, okay, it shows the customer, the buyer, the seller, the prospect, the exact benefits of working with you versus somebody else. And most important, when you use the scripts, the customer wins and you win. See, there's so many advantages of using scripts on a regular basis. But the biggest thing in using scripts is getting your ego out of the way. So I wrote down a question: how do we internalize the scripts? That is, how do we make them part of who you are? See, my belief is every one of us is a little different in how we say something. So I will say to you, no any other questions, and when you say the same thing, it may come out with different tonality. It may come out with a little different intention, but each of us present ourselves in a different manner. So you're going to take the scripts and internalize them and make them you. What I hear all the time, I'm not like her. Well, good, I'm glad you're not. I don't want you to be, okay? I want you to be you better. I want you to be you better. That requires good learning the scripts. So here's what I've written down on how to internalize the scripts. Create a positive expectation towards knowing the scripts inside out, backward, and forward. For example, say to yourself, learning these scripts will make these great things happen in my life. I can pay off my debt. I can purchase that new home for my family. I can take my family on that vacation. I can create my retirement account. I can create my college kids' education account. Okay? You have to create positive expectations. You list 4 or 5 positive expectations, you'll get excited about learning your scripts. I wrote down second. Every day for 30 days, write down the 5 positive benefits you'll receive when you learn your scripts. Okay? Increased production, more income, college fund for your children, the vacation, savings account, new car. Every day, write them down. Because when you write them down, they start to crystallize and formulate in your head. Third, write out for 30 days the 5 negative consequences if you fail to learn your scripts. Lack of income to pay your bills, having to drive that old car, no vacation for the family, a lack of listings, maybe getting fired from the company. So I'm going to look at the positive and the negative every single day to reinforce the positive, because that's what I want to have happen. Fourth, write out your production income goals and affirmations for 30 days. Because of these scripts, I do sell more homes each month, and I earn $30,000 a month in income, or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. See, you have to, for yourself, okay, understand that internalizing the scripts have wonderful benefits to you. So how do I actually do it? Now watch this. Read the first sentence of a script that you want to work on out loud 5 times. Okay, so let's take an example. If you're doing a just listed, just sold call, whether it be a door or a phone, or you're knocking on a door making a cold call, one of the questions we want you to ask is, when do you plan on moving? So let's stop for a minute on that question. People say, well, why did you create that question? Well, here's my belief. I want to ask questions where they can't say no to me. I want to ask questions where they can't say no. I had a person say to me one time, well, that's very manipulative in terms of how you sell. It's manipulation. No, it's not manipulation. I just don't want to be told no. So I ask questions where they can't say no. Think about this. Hi, do you want to sell your home? No. Think about this. Hi, when do you plan on moving? I never thought about moving. They're not moving, but they didn't say no. So the first question, for example, is when do you plan on moving? So read the first sentence of the script you're going to work on out loud 5 times. When do you plan on moving? 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 Then, phase 2, take the same sentence 5 times, but this time with a big smile on your face. And watch and listen to how the tonality changes. So here we go. First 5 times, just do it. When do you plan on moving? 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 Second, with a big smile. When do you plan on moving? 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 Notice the tonality changes dramatically. But now you've repeated the script already 10 times. Then you take the second line of the script and read it out loud 10 times while smiling. How long have you lived at this address? 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 So now, I've got when do you plan on moving 10 times? How long have you lived at this address 10 times? Big smile on my face. Now for the hard part, you take your script card, okay, and you turn it over where you can't see it, and you repeat both questions out loud 10 times with a big smile. If you make a mistake, you start over from the beginning. Hi, when do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? Are you doing it with me right now? Come on, repeat it with me. When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? Are you saying it out loud? You better be. When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? You make a mistake, you start over. Let me share an example. I had the good fortune of playing in a big professional golf tournament, and my partner was Phil Mickelson, very, very big time, world famous golfer. When we finished the round, he said, let me give you a couple putting techniques or skills. Of course, here's one of the best in the world. He takes 100 golf balls, puts them in a circle 3 or 4 feet out around the top, and he putts, and he has to make all 100 in a row before he moves it out to, say, 5 feet. So he said, go ahead and start. I said, okay, so I putted 3, 4, 5 and made them. Then I missed one. He says, oh, now you have to start over. I said, you're kidding. He said, no. So I put the ball back on the cup. I made 8 or 10 in a row, and I missed one. Oops, you got to start over. I said, wow, this is hard. And I said, becoming good is difficult, isn't it? I don't think I ever got more than 25 in a row. I had to keep starting over. But let me tell you something. I became a much better putter. You want to be a better agent? When you plan on moving, I'll want you to do this address 10 times, big smile on your face. Now, then I want to go a step further. Then repeat the same exercise with the first 5 to 6 sentences of the script you're going to use. When you plan on moving, how long you lived at this address? Where'd you folks move from? How'd you have to pick this area? If you were to move, where would you go next? Do that same exercise 10 times out loud, reading it, then 10 times out loud with a turned over big smile on your face. Now, go a step further. If you really want to learn your scripts, then you recite the entire script out loud as fast as you can. Now, let's stop. Let's look what you've been through so far. When do you plan on moving? Then with a smile. When do you plan on moving? Then you're gonna do that 5 times with a big smile. Then 10 times. Then how long have you lived at this address? 5 times, 10 times. Then the two together. 5 times, 10 times. Then you're gonna add the next 3 or 4 questions. Then we're gonna say to you, now do it as fast as you can. So watch this example. All right, 5 times as fast as you can, the first 2 questions of the script. When you plan on moving over to this address, when you plan on moving 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 to this address.
You guys are not playing along.
What does that do? Listen, it embeds this whole concept into your subconscious mind. See, remember the concept that all professional athletes, singers, dancers, actors use. It's called muscle memory. Muscle memory is when you ingrained it. See, for example, a baseball player has ingrained the swing, or the golfer ingrained the swing, or the passer or the quarterback ingrained the pass, or the actor has ingrained the lines into themselves. Muscle memory. So the purpose of all this is the muscle memory, okay? So what you have to understand, when you perfect what you do, your confidence increases. Now, I wrote down another series of thoughts for you, okay? If you want to take your scripts to the next level in terms of understanding them, try any of the following. For example, create your own affirmation tape. Record with a regular tone of voice, and then record with a huge smile on your face, the very, very scripts you want to use. And then you listen to them all the time. It's a great way to learn, okay? Write out your personal affirmations every day as to what you're going to accomplish while learning your scripts. Record a live presentation. Get on the phone and call for sale by owner. Pre-qualify yourself and actually record it so you can listen back to hear how you're doing. So I guess the next question is simply, how long is it going to take, Mike, to learn a lot of these scripts that I have to learn? And the truth is, if it took you 6 months, would that be okay? Remember I asked you 2 weeks ago, how many of you are planning on being in real estate at the end of 2013? And all of you nodded your head. And I said, how many are planning on being in real estate in 2014? Everybody nods their head. So even if it took you 15, 16, 18 months to learn all these scripts, would it be worthwhile? So the truth is, it doesn't matter, because as you keep using them, you become better at them. Don't rush, be patient. Expect the results, they'll come to you. Keep smiling, keep practicing, keep rehearsing, and believe me, you will learn the scripts and dialogues at the highest level. Go back and review this week's material every day this week. So the homework assignment for this week, well, actually there's 2. You know, here we are now, going towards the end of April. Some of you should be strongly considering going to Superstar Retreat in July. May, June, July, 3 months, big retreat. We need you there. Call the office, get signed up. Can you imagine 4 days of this kind of information? Boy, you're going to leave a smarter person. Homework assignment number 1, strongly consider the retreat. Number 2, watch this program every day this week. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Okay, so my point when I'm sitting, like if I were taking floor time, what are you also doing while you're doing floor time if the phone's not ringing? What are you doing? You could be watching something on YouTube right here. You could be, you might even, I don't even know, so I don't want to lose my spot on YouTube, but do you know that you can open up multiple YouTube channels? I love that. You all know that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't have to lose where I was. I could see floor time.
I printed out some scripts from Tom Ferry.
Oh, I love Tom Ferry.
And I've got them right by my phone in a file that says phone script.
Perfect.
So if somebody calls, like a question about listing, I'll pull out the list of questions or one of those that really helps.
That's great. But you see what I'm saying is, okay, so floor time, they're using it for kid things. So how about, and sometimes I have a hard time finding what I'm looking for. So real estate. Oh, here we go. Sales scripts for real estate agents, right? I just watched that one. Okay, so other scripts. So if nothing else, what can you be doing? Look at here. scripts for sale by, there's all kinds, scripts, listing presentation. Here's a 4-minute listing presentation. You guys want to look at it?
Yes.
Just for kicks and grins, 4 minutes? I don't know. I have no idea if this is good or bad. And that's really loud. I got it.
Hi, welcome to businessbackend.com. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Julie, and today what we're going to talk about a little bit is listing presentations.
Yeah, over the last few years, we've done a lot of short sales, especially here in Vegas. And I think an actual listing presentation has kind of gone out the door. Those
Right.
days are numbered, and having a quality listing presentation is going to matter in the future.
Right, what we're seeing here in our market is actually most of the market is equity sellers, which are regular people, which means the listing presentation is coming back, like you said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a method, I call it the CAPE method, C-A-P-E. It's just a little soundbite that you can use, put it into your listing presentation, and it really helps take the monkey off your back and put it on the seller's back and help them understand their role in getting a home sold. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Mr. Seller, are you familiar with the 4 things that it takes to sell a home?
I'm not.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go over those with you. The first one is condition. Condition, what that refers to is what the property looks like. Is the house clean? Are there holes in the walls? Does the backyard have landscaping? What's the condition of the property? Now, who controls the condition of the property?
Yes, I do.
The seller does, right? Okay, great. So condition is completely within your control. The next thing we're going to talk about is access. Now, access is agent's ability to get in to show the property. The easier the access, the more likely we are to get showings and actually secure an offer, which is the point, right, Mr. Seller? Okay, so what I'm going to recommend to get the easiest access is we're going to put a lockbox on the door so that agents can gain, like I said, access into the home. So who controls the access?
I guess as a seller, I guess that would be me again.
You do, right? And you're okay with us putting a lockbox on the door?
Yeah.
Notice how I'm saying yes?
And you could also throw in there that at this point, if they, you don't have to ask them directly, do they want to put a lockbox on the door? You're assuming it, you're telling them yes, and this is where the objection would come up.
Right. This is how we eliminate that objection. We sell them on, hey, you're in charge of that, and this is the best way to get people in the door. Now, the third thing that's important in selling a home is the price. So the bottom line is, Mr. Seller, you're going to decide what we list the home at, and the market is going to determine what the home is actually worth. So
The market
what's going to
rejects the
happen is
price.
today, when you and I leave, we will have picked a list price for the property, and I'm going to give you information on the market as we go. If we're getting showings, getting offers, we know we're priced okay. So in the end, who determines the price?
Me again?
And who determines the value?
The market.
The market does, right? And then the last thing is exposure. Now, exposure is marketing, it's getting it out there. This is where actually for you, picking the right agent really matters, because the truth is, if you pick the wrong agent, there may not be exposure.
Makes sense.
Exposure is the one thing that I'm in charge of. And the good news is, with my network and with my marketing plan and with what I do, you're going to get massive exposure.
And at this point, I would assume that you've already showed them what you do, or you have something prepared to show them what you're going to do.
Right, this is where you insert your value proposition. And so hopefully what you've done here is set the table for in the future, if you do take an overpriced listing, because it happens, you set the table to remind the seller, hey, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of the price, you're in charge of the access, you're in charge of the condition, and Mr. Seller, I've done the exposure. The bottom line is that based on one of these other 3 things that it takes to sell a home, buyers just are choosing not to see the property or buy it.
I really like that, because if you're getting the exposure, there's people looking at the home, there's people calling about the home, but it's not selling. It's one of those 3 things, condition, access, or price, that's stopping it from selling.
Right. So hopefully from this, you've taken a few sound bites that you can use in helping you get listings and get price adjustments down the line when those do come up. So congratulations, your business just got backhanded.
So, okay, now here's what I'm looking at. If I like what this particular person, I'm noticing that they've had 15,000 views on this. There's 451 people subscribed, but they have a channel. You see this business backhand channel. So I want to go look and see business backhand channel. Sorry, that's really loud. But I want to see what other kinds of stuff they have. So if I like what somebody has, guess what I go do? I go see what else do they have. And I pick videos. Like I'll just hit how many videos do they have. And these people have, they always, so the last time they added a video was a year ago, it looks like. Sorry about that, guys. Last time they added a video was a year ago, looks like. So I don't know if they're still in business or not. But if I like what they're doing, what can I go do? I can watch. And then if I take one thing away, how great is that? If I don't like it, or if I don't think they're great, I just am like, I'm done. So it looks like a couple years ago, they were doing videos, and now it doesn't seem like they've been adding anything to it. Okay, but you're going to find there's all kinds of people who they're doing everything on their, anything that they do, they're posting and making YouTube channels, because that's now how people are actually communicating, right? So you have a plethora of stuff, and if I get one thing off of this, I'm thrilled. Do you see what I'm saying? I actually like that. I thought that was brilliant. Did you see they took a piece of paper, they put it in a quarter, they put CAPE, condition, access, price, and what? Exposure. What am I in charge of? Exposure. What are they in charge of? Everything. How do you like that? I thought that was great. And that was 4 minutes out of my life. I could pick that up. I could also put that into my listing presentation. Do you see that?
One thing I was a little, she said, or you said too, the market determines the price.
Market determines, so did she.
The value.
So she said it just a little bit. She said, you determine the price, Mr. Seller. Market determines the value. How do you like them apples?
Yeah.
So, and then really that means the greatest onus is on the seller, right? So if the property isn't ready to be shown, or if a property isn't clean, those are things that are really going to affect whether or not your property sells. I mean, it really is, okay? All right, you guys, it's time for me to give you a break right now. I'll get them apples. 10 minutes. Am I busy? I don't know what that means.
I need to look, I need to look at my phone for a second, if you don't mind, to make sure.
One of them is probably, and they, my phone, I tell you, I wake up to my phone ringing every morning. Somebody's calling me. And when they're felt me, with them, you just pay them.
Okay, what's going on?
This gentleman is now in his 20s, is leaving, he's like 50 young people, just want to hike in the state for a week. I wonder, just the, I know Teresa's been out of town, but I know her transit comes out, now I've got phone meeting for listening agreement. And somehow, by DocuSign, I've been having to sign twice, I don't know how to not do that.
I'm not going to vote on that. Okay.
That's the deal there. I told him that's pretty good.
That's okay.
Can I do this, because we're waiting for the tenants to move out, and Patty suggested it, but I haven't decided to not put a listing date in there, but put something in there, or he gives me the authority to decide that it is date, because he's going to be out of touch when he's Wednesday.
Yeah, you do not want to do that, because you have you never want to have the power when it comes to seller's property. It is listing for 145.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just wait to date it out, to go wait till it comes back and then put it online. Why couldn't you do that?
Well, I could.
Yeah.
Except Patty recommended it.
So what she recommended?
She said to put in a term where, because it's going to be out of state, it's all kind of up in the air and we'll be able to reach him.
Okay. I don't particularly, sometimes she and I have differences. I don't particularly like that, and I would rather wait until it's, but if she says that, that's totally fine, and then she probably has a better handle on your market area. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder if, aside from that, if you could just eyeball this and see if I'm just maybe sort of, I was so, as someone that owns an office, I'm not just tired.
You're always in.
I mean, I can't, but I mean, all the other realtors want to help me, but I don't know. All kinds of stuff.
You don't have any, you don't have any, company at this ILC where they're going to have to pay you if they take them market, the property to market, I typically like 1%.
Oh, where
And
is
so
that?
it should be, you can do other places, you can add it here,
Oh,
you can put it in other terms, you can also put it here. If your property is withdrawn from the sale or leased or rented without the consent of the broker or made unmarketable by sellers, voluntary act during the term of this agreement, seller agrees to compensate broker as above unless otherwise stated, and I typically say 1%. That's what I put there. But that's able and doable in this market, and you can also, where you can choose not to charge that. As a business owner, I can decide not to charge that. That's my option. Okay, I'm not saying that we're gonna ask that we have to, but it protects you if you've been on the market for a period of time and they all of a sudden make property unable to be seen. So it kind of creates a little bit of a stick. Yeah, I mean, both parties, yeah, and that's gonna be really good. Now, Patty says that that's good, I would just, I sometimes say wait till the person gets back. I mean, maybe out of town for a week, it's not the worst thing in the world. And then plus, if they have to, typically what here's my shtick when it comes to tenant occupied property and what I've seen in the market area, my market area versus what's in yours, is typically the seller has to get in there and clean it up in order to get it back on the market. So, I mean, you see that I do. And how does it work? Oh, good. Good. But yeah, and she's right. You absolutely want to get something on the market as quick as possible. So, you know what I'm saying?
I know. I always pull one over. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, confident, yeah. Thanks, Teresa. I am in bootcamp right at the moment, so you got 2 minutes. Sure. Okay. Oh, I probably can. So do you want me to get with you after 1 o'clock? I'd be happy to. Not a problem. You're welcome. Take care. Okay. All right, so it sounds, so are you buying in on scripts or are you not buying in on scripts? Tell me where you're at. And it's okay, we can be honest with one.
It would be, I would have to practice a lot.
You'd have to practice a lot. Here's what I can tell you. Do you think the more you do something, the more comfortable and confident you're gonna get?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do I absolutely know that the number one thing that people tell me is they fall over themselves all the time?
They say what?
They fall over themselves. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to answer questions. So I'm going to immerse myself in scripts. And number one thing people come to me all the time and say is, Teresa, do you have some scripts? And I'm like, I got scripts for days. Does that mean that people use them and use them consistently? No. But I have scripts for days. And I like ones that work. You know the difference? A lot of people tell me, yeah, I'm not going to use that because that doesn't sound like me. Well, what does it sound like? Does it sound like a person who, and oh, by the way, just in case nobody told you, you're in sales. This is what we do for a living, we're in sales. So I like to use stuff that people have been using for a long time and that works. The other thing I can tell you is that there's books you can go buy on this. There's CD and audio programs. I mean, there's, for days. If you want to go take a look at, does anybody own MREA, or Millionaire Real Estate Agent? Okay. Gary Keller, Keller Williams has books of scripts and stuff like that. Can you guys get a hold of these, please? Yes, you can. But by the way, collecting boxes and boxes and boxes of scripts is great, but it doesn't make a damn bit of difference unless you do what? Use it. Try it out. And who should you be trying it out on?
Family?
Why not try it out? Why not try it out? I mean, again, one of the smartest things I ever learned how to say in open house is, so what brought you out here today? You know what I was doing? I was doing what I call a softball. I was not being like, so hey, are you working with an agent? You know, can I show you the house? Here's the kitchen. You know what I mean? You know, you gotta come up with something. And then I swear to you, once you get stuff that works, you'll use that stuff all the time. I have my own internal scripts. There's stuff that I say to buyers and sellers all the time. And it's because I said it once, it worked. I was like, oh my God, this is golden. So I kept saying it. If it worked again, it became platinum, right? And if it worked again, it was diamond, okay? So it just made my way into my vocabulary. And the more you learn how to say something, the more you know quickly how to get over objections, the more you feel comfortable, confident answering questions. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I think would be really, really good at real estate who don't start because they're like, well, I don't know how to talk to you. I'm like, well, what do you think you gotta do? I just call it the fail forward, fail faster. So you're gonna do a lot of, you're gonna do a little bit of banging your head up against a wall, you're gonna do a little bit of failing, you're gonna talk to people and it's not gonna go well. But it's once you develop something, or it's once you are able to hold somebody's attention, or if it's once you're able to start talking to people. And then I'm a huge believer, I call it educational selling. If I can educate you about something, people are really interested to talk to you if you're telling them new information or something that edifies them. They're really not interested in talking to you if you're telling them things that they already know. You know, does that make sense? Like interest rates are going up. Okay, sometimes people know this, and sometimes they have no idea. I mean, why do you say that? Or why are you thinking that interest rates are probably going to climb 2% the next year? I'm like, well, you know, honestly, I've gone to some conferences. I've got some information from my company that's provided me on some economic forecasts. You can talk about, I shared with you originally in class, you know, Anchorage's economic forecast for the first year and the next 3 years, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and these are some things that I've been hearing. And I've got to tell you, I'm watching rates every single day, you know, because you should be receiving, does anybody in here not receive interest rates every single day? Do you receive the current rate every single day? Okay, I need you to immediately go to Home State, pick out one of those nice people and get on the rate list. I want you to have rates sent to you every single day. If you don't have rates sent to you every single day, that's a problem in my worldview. You need to know what rates are every day.
It's so nice, they do it every day.
Yeah, and then they come in and you should be looking at them. Okay, now we can't quote rates. How come we don't quote them? What? They and we are not what? I'm not a lender. I'm not licensed to be a lender. I don't quote rates, but I know what they are. That way, if somebody like starts talking, you know, well, I can get a mortgage for 1% interest. I could do it. Really? Where? From whom? Okay.
What I want to go.
Yeah, because tell me all, and all of a sudden I'm really interested. Tell me all about it. Okay. How about and then what do you know about if somebody's willing to do a carry? Does anyone know what I mean by a carry? A seller carry?
The owner carries their.
Okay, the owner plays the part of the bank.
Yeah.
So if an owner's going to play the part of the bank, they're not going to give you bank interest.
That's owner finance.
That's owner finance. So if an owner is going to carry you on their back, they're not giving you bank interest. Okay, they're going to charge you higher, and they can charge you a lot higher than what's currently being quoted right now. Okay, because they're taking the risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to find a seller financing, and then they think that they're going to get bank interest, and they're like shocked and amazed to find out that nobody's willing to do that. So now I have a conversation I can have with someone. How about somebody who tells me, oh, I can never buy. What do I know right now? Not necessarily. I'm like, well, you know, there's some people who will go out there and carry. They'll carry paper. Do you have a down payment?
Oh, I'm serious.
So now I can turn that buyer who says they'll never buy into an actual legit buyer. And can I tell you where you can find a ton of seller carries? The Valley. There's a gal right now who might be interested in a seller carry.
Okay.
You know, if she's paid off her house, I mean, she could make better than bank interest and basically make a retirement off of owning her own home. Have you ever talked to her about that?
No. I am.
Yeah, I can talk to you about that a little bit more.
I think some scripts could help me. I have a bad habit, like, if someone asks me a question I don't know, I'll go, And you know what, that is such a turn off. Because it's like, I mean, that is like bad, you know, just stop and just think for a second.
Verbal diarrhea, right?
Yes, it's better. Yeah.
You know. Yeah. But I mean, there's some really good stuff, and I mean, he's saying some things to you. If you really, let's say, for example, let's say every single one of you in this room is going to sell 100 houses next year.
Woo, woo.
Okay. That's not. Okay.
That's a
Wouldn't
lot of work.
Wouldn't you have to get better at what you're doing?
Yes.
Wouldn't you have to have some really sharp skills?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you right now, when you're learning, learn how to sharpen your skills as quickly as possible. And these are ways that you can do it. Now, I'm not saying that you're not gonna stumble into something amazing on your own. Cool, I love that. And please, if you do stumble into something amazing, share it with me. But I am telling you that there's a way to get there from here. I mean, if you are diligent about doing certain things, you're just gonna find out that it's just the absolute law of reciprocity that is gonna start paying off. People who actually go to their sphere to get business, I mean, it cracked me up. I'll tell you, the Custers are a husband and wife team. And the very first thing I said that they had to do was they're taking that sphere and they're mailing out to that sphere. And I said, you want to do handwritten cards? And I remember Karen is an engineer. And she was kind of looking at me like, she's like, well, it was homework. And she had to, and I expected it to be done. And so she did it. But I could absolutely see where she was all, this is just bullshit. I mean, I could just see it all, it was written all over her face that she just thought that I was just like full of it. And then when she came back and she's like, I can't believe that's working. People are calling us. I'm like, She's like, I can't believe that works. I'm like, it works. Contacting people, asking them for business works. Telling somebody how to give you business works. Telling somebody how to give you business. Here, let me give you a stack of my business cards. If anybody wants to buy or sell real estate, if you're not comfortable, you can just give them my card, they can contact me, but will you do me a favor, and will you call me and let me know that there's somebody that you know that wants to buy or sell real estate? And they'll be like, yeah, sure, no problem. But how many times have you not given somebody business because you thought they might be too busy? I mean, I do that all the time. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I know somebody, and I mean, I do this with contractors all the time. I don't know if they're working right now, so I don't know if we should call them or I've done this back. Just pick it up. I mean, they want your referrals, right? So one of the most important things you can start doing right now is setting up a referral network. So if your girlfriend is in hairdressing and she's a good friend of yours, then I'm going to just FYI, everybody I know who likes my hair, I'm going to send them directly to you. Done in one. Everyone you know who wants to buy or sell real estate, you send them to me. Teach people how to give you business. Teach people how to give you business. Stay in contact with people. It's a big deal.
So what would you have said to, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Tim's lady, who said, no, I'm not gonna, we're not gonna count.
I'm going to say, I'm sorry, that's not an option. That's not an option. We will answer this, we will answer, and we will count. That's not an option. That's what I would have said. Even if you're so mad that you don't like that she did a lowball offer, then if what you're only willing to do is to counter full price and terms, that's absolutely fine. We'll do that. But not countering is not an option.
Okay.
And because I'm convicted when I say that, she has no other option but to. And I'm like, here's the counter offer. This is what you said you would take. Sign here. I'm going to send it over. Because it's my job to get us in contract, or it's my job if there is a contract to keep us in contract. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. Sometimes over people's petty, or over their own. And if she's like, no, I won't do it at full price in the terms. What do I know now?
She doesn't want to sell.
She doesn't want to move.
Yeah.
And she's not going to sell. And let me tell you, I'll tell you a very this is old school, you guys. But I'll tell you a really valuable lesson that I ran into one time, and this was really, really hard and humiliating as well. So would you believe it that you should be farming your own neighborhood? Do you know what I mean by farming your own neighborhood? Okay, this is, you know everything about that neighborhood, you should be farming it because you know where the grocery stores are, you know where the churches are, you know where, you know. So I was working in my own neighborhood, and I had sent out some just sold cards. I'd gotten a call from a neighbor, and it had been a just sold card. And they said, did this house really sell? And I was like, oh yeah, it sure did. He said, well, I kind of know that house, and I think my house is in really great condition, much better. And I was like, well, I'd love to come down and give you a CMA. And I came down and did a CMA, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, I'll list the property. So of course we listed the property. Then I got an offer on the property. And when I went to present this offer to this particular gentleman, he goes, oh, okay, great. He goes, no, I'm not signing the contract. I said, I'm sorry, what? We got a full price offer. Full price. And at this point in time, guys, sellers didn't pay closing costs. So he got a full price offer. So full price, no terms offer, basically. And he's like, okay, great. Yeah, I'm not signing it. He goes, I just wanted to know whether or not I could get an offer. I'm like, you mean you were never planning on moving? He goes, oh no, I was never planning on moving. I just didn't believe that they got an offer. I didn't believe that they sold their house, but I was never planning on moving. So I had to crawl back to that listing licensee. I'm like, well, I need to cancel your listing right now. I said, you know, honestly, that's not good business practices. I don't list houses unless people are honestly planning on moving. What was a question I didn't ask him? When are you planning? Where are you going? When are you planning to move? I missed asking some questions because if I'd asked better questions, guess what? I'd have never listed that property. I would have never wasted my time. I would have never wasted any of my money. I would have never put myself in that situation. I had to crawl back to that selling licensee and say, hey, I am so sorry. I absolutely got, you know, whacked on the side of the head. This guy is not actually
Sure.
Yeah, well, it was terrible. I looked terrible. I was humiliated. I'd spent money.
Buyers were disappointed.
Super disappointed. Another licensee is
Their time was wasted.
My time was wasted, but I looked like a fool. I look like a fool. Do you see what I'm saying?
I don't know.
The other licensees, when you've got a buyer who really wants to buy a house and you find out that the seller is just jacking you around, but I didn't ask good questions to find out whether or not they're planning on moving, not a good day. So consider that some of these scripts asking some of these questions, there might be a reason for that. Oh, when are you planning on moving? Oh, well, we're not planning on moving. Oh, okay, well then, all you want to know is what your house is worth. I could have done that with just a CMA. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. I could have just provided him with the information that he wanted. But no. But I think he would have amped it up anyway. He wanted to know if he could get an offer on his house. Okay, now that was a terrible mistake. It took me a while to get over that. I didn't actually want to take listings after that for a while. I mean, because buyers to me were easy. Buyers went out, I took them shopping, I picked a house, and I got paid. Sellers were a completely different Wile E. Coyote situation. So it really put me off that for a little bit. And really, where you want to go, guys, and I'll be really honest with you, you want to be listing agents. Why do I want to be a listing agent?
A guaranteed deal.
It's another.
Because it's a law of leverage, right? You remember the law of leverage? So every listing I have, I hire 1,200 people to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Every listing I have, I hire everybody in that market area to work for me. I hire you to take your buyers out and show my property. Every buyer, I have to go show them how many different houses before they pick one. Which one saves you time, energy, and effort? Listings do. Okay, listings have a much better chance of selling than some buyers can be a little bit squirrely, and they can end up working with other licensees. They can not qualify, change their mind, or run into me at open house, and you've lost them. Okay, because I'm what? Oh, you're working up the brand new licensee. Oh my God.
Oh, don't say that, Teresa.
Oh, of course I do. I mean, come on, I'm in sales. I'm here to do what? I'm here to make the sale. I'm not here to make you look good. And please don't even play. There's people out there who are not interested in whether or not you get the sale or not. They're interested in whether or not they get the sale or not. Okay? So they're not playing by a rule book. Or if they are playing by, and by the way, I think you ought to know that so that you can have what we call better client control on the front end. Okay? That's why so many people put buyers under buyer representation agreements. Okay? Now, when I was selling, buyer's representation agreements didn't exist. You had to be good to keep a client. What do you think that meant? What do you think I mean by that? What do you think I mean? I had to show my worth and have better skills and not let my buyer out loose at open house. I mean, if I let a buyer out loose at open house, I knew I would lose them. I knew it. I was scared to death that they would sneak out on a Saturday afternoon without me. I was scared that they would be out without me looking at property. Okay? You guys send them out to the slaughter. That I see that. Well, why don't you just go look at houses? So these 3 houses are going to be open this weekend. So whenever you feel comfortable, why don't you stop by the open house? I'm like, did you just say that out loud? I think that's insanity. You're thinking you're saving yourself. What? They're going to meet me in open house, and what am I going to do? Well, did your licensee send you to me without? Oh, they didn't feel that it was important to show you this house themselves. Huh. Now all of a sudden, what do they think about you?
Not that great.
You're not that great. You're lazy.
Lazy.
Lazy. They think they're
Not a
lazy.
priority.
You're not a priority. Oh my gosh. I would never let a buyer out at open house. Never. If you send them out to an open house, you have just sent them out to the slaughter. On the slaughter.
So is that really, I mean, I thought
Teresa Slaughter.
Yeah, I thought that was, I don't want to say unethical, but I mean, you talk to someone and they say, I'm working with someone.
I'm going to ask whether or not they're under contract with you. And if they're not under contract with you, then
Then
I don't
it's fair
I don't
game.
care.
Okay.
It's just like, I mean, it's just, and by the way, buyers are equally not interested. I mean, they get a full nose too. They get out there at open house, they just start dealing with me. They know they start to see a difference in quality of agent, and they're going to leave you in the dust. So it doesn't do, it kind of actually, you're at a very much at a disadvantage for licensees who are out there who are, making their living out of doing open house, because they get really good really fast working with buyers. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you think you're doing yourself a time-saving measure. You see, so
I do.
so you're gonna run into people who are gonna be really, really good. No, if they're not under a buyer's representation agreement, boys and girls, they are fair game.
And so you said people don't do the buyer's representation agreement?
I didn't ever do a buyer's representation agreement because when I started selling, they didn't exist. Okay, when I started selling, the only person you could work for was the seller because he was who paid you. Remember that? That's way back in the day.
So
Remember, we didn't do home inspections.
So it is something that we do now.
Yes. So you have the opportunity to put your buyer under buyer's representation agreement. Now, am I telling you to do it? I'm saying you have an opportunity to do it. I don't do it because I know how to sell a buyer without putting them under a buyer's rep agreement. Okay? I have better buyer skills. Doesn't that make sense if I've done it for a really long time that I have better skills? Now, am I saying that you don't have good skills? No. Am I saying that you can't get really good? No, I'm not saying that. Am I saying that you can put buyers under buyer representation agreements? Yes, I'm telling you can do that too. Okay, but are you really going to sue a buyer who doesn't choose to work with you? I mean, which one of you are going to do that? Most of us are not going to do that. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, any questions? So where can you get scripts?
Anywhere online.
What's that?
Anywhere online.
Anywhere online. So has anybody tried, watch this. This is real estate scripts. Oh my God, look at this. Scripts and tools, coaching, blah, 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 real estate champions. Real estate scripts free, right? So what can I do?
Open it and
I can just start kind of looking around. What I would tell you, and what I really do mean when I say, is sometimes these older scripts, like the Mike Ferry scripts, the reason why I introduced him right now, Tom Ferry is his son, he's equally awesome, is that these are the ones that have stood the test of time. And they're, some of them are shorter, but they are very, he is really diligent about anything that's not working. He ditches anything that is working, he does more of. And also, so many of them are scripts, some of them they're all scripts, so many of them are free. Okay? So all of his stuff is complimentary too. So you can be online and you can just be going through these. And they're in English, Spanish, some of them are in French. How do you like them? Just listen, just hold, do follow up. new plan of action. If nothing else, I start with stuff that's available to me. And if you don't like this and you want to change it to make it sound like you, great, okay? So let's just look at this. So we're talking with buyers, right? Here's buyers' objections. Let's just look at this. And this is how it is 3 pages of buyer objections. And it says, I don't feel like this is the time to buy. Okay, I understand there's never a perfect time to buy a home. Is that true? Yeah, that's true. Let me ask you what specifically is stopping you from making the decision to buy a home. And you might say, a home instead of this home. You know, that might be one change on our, okay? All right. So is it the price? Is it the monthly payment? Is it the house? Based on let's do the right thing. Let's buy this home. Start with the signature. The area is too new. The area is too old. I don't like the neighborhood. The home is too far from schools. The taxes are too much. The home is run down. The yard's too small. The yard's too big. The interest rate's too high. The price is too high. Okay, the payments are too high. You want to think it over. My relative must see it first. By the way, one of the first questions you should be asking a buyer is who else is in on the buying decision. And I want mom and dad. Number one mistake new licensees make all the time. Are you ready? And some of us old licensees make this too. We forget if there's another party who has a say in the buying decision. So we're taking out this lovely young lady. I cannot tell you how many times this happens. I take out a lovely young gentleman or lady, not realizing that mom or dad or grandma is actually a decision maker on buying this property. And because mom and dad didn't get to go through the same process that their son or daughter went through, they didn't get to go see what I call, the rundown disco tour of acreage. Okay, so they weren't in on seeing the all of the properties that daughter turned down to find this little gem. You and she both know this is the perfect little gem, but they walk in on this property completely 100% cold, and all they do is look around and say, "You're selling my poor daughter this piece of crap." Instead of you having taken them with you so they could have seen the progression in order for them to appreciate that this is the best puppy in the window, okay, of what's available, unless they're willing to kick in more money. So what typically happens, now this has happened to me many times, is I forgot to bring mom, dad, or grandma with me, and they look at me like it's my fault that this is what they can buy, and that I have somehow mesmerized this kid into making this horrible decision. Instead of going on the tour of properties with me, so that they can be adding in. Because if I don't have mom, dad, or grandma's buy-in, if they're not in on this, they're not giving the kid all the money, guys. So you just wasted your time, energy, and effort. You and they know that it's a good decision, but the money maker, the money contributor, says that it's a bad decision. Okay, so easy thing for me to do is to make sure that those people are with me when we're touring properties. Okay, so if my relative has to see it first, I need to know that on the front end, so they're coming with us when we're looking at properties. And oh, by the way, if mom and dad isn't happy, they might do what? They might kick in more money so that they can get a better quality property. Okay, so now you've not only won their buy-in, okay, but now you're getting a little bit, you're not increasing, probably, you guys need to know, 3% on $10,000 is no big deal. But the point being is you're looking at a completely different price point, okay? But never be taking a buyer looking for property and if there's another monetary buy-in that needs to be there. So does mom, is there anybody else who's going to be making a buying decision here? Is anybody giving you money for this? Does dad have to see this property before you can buy it? Okay.
It's not only monetary. Oh, my parents would look at it too.
Yeah.
For blessings.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a blessing, not a
Could
monetary.
be. But I want mom and dad going with me on the tour.
That's right.
Okay, because mom and dad aren't going with me on the tour, guess what happens?
Come boom.
It will blow right up. Okay, so those are just, so again, the house is run down. Okay, a lot of the times you'll notice you're always saying I understand. You're always basically you're saying you're agreeing with what they're saying. I understand. The home is run down. I hear what you're saying. And this home does offer you a chance to add your own personal touches. Would it be better for you to pay a higher price for a more complete home, or to redo this one to meet your specific needs? great. You're typically ending on a positive, and it's always up to them. So, but why is it smart for you to know these type of things?
Are they objections or are they conditions?
These are fire objections.
I say, you gotta know if they're an objection or a condition.
Let's talk about that. What's the difference between objection and a condition, my friend? This is a Mike Perry lady. She loves this guy.
Objection is something you can deal with, a condition's a deal breaker.
An objection is something you can deal with, a condition is a deal breaker. Like, I have to have a VA financing. This condo doesn't have VA financing, therefore you cannot buy. That's a condition. Okay? And if we can find out those as well, right? The other thing that I think is really funny, I'm only gonna buy a single family residence, okay? Well, you know what I'm gonna do? This is old school. Okay, I'm gonna show you every single family residence that you can possibly afford. I am gonna let you know that, however, if you are willing to look at a different kind of property, you might be able to get more in your home. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave that decision up to you. I'm gonna show you everything that you possibly qualify for, and you'll tell me if you're willing to look at a different kind of property. What do you mean, Teresa, by a different kind of property? I used to flip people from buying a single family to a condo or a multi all the time. Because when they went out and did the tour again, the disco rundown tour of Anchorage and found what they were looking for in a single family. And then they found out if they got same money, they can get a much nicer condo. Or at the time, with the same down payment, I used to be able to flip them into a duplex. Okay? So they were able to, you know what? But I didn't make the mistake of showing them condos instead of single family residences. I just let them know that there were other options that they might want to consider. Or same thing, like if somebody says, I'm only gonna be in Service High School area. I can say, you know what, Service High School is a great high school. That's absolutely fine. But you know, there's also South Anchorage High School. There's also Diamond High School on the south side of town. All of them have their pluses and minuses. However, I'm only going to show you homes that are in a Service High School driving range or bus range. But did you know that you can get what's something called a zone exemption? You know what the zone exemption is? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where occasionally, if you are right outside the boundary, you get a zone exemption and go to the school you want to go to. Or you might find a better home in a similarly situated neighborhood that might take your kid to South Anchorage High School or Diamond High School. But you will tell me when you are wanting to move out of those parameters. Because here's what I'm doing. What do you think that does, you guys? First of all, it lets them be the decision maker. I'm not the decision maker. I'm letting you know there are other good schools out there. Okay, number one. Number two, I'm telling you, I'm respecting what you're telling me. Okay, and again, the decision is theirs, not mine. And I am not showing them properties that they're telling me that they don't want to see. I cannot tell you how many times licensees do that, and it always shocks and amazes me. If somebody tells you, I'm only buying a house with a fireplace in it, they're serious. Don't show them properties that don't have fireplaces in them, okay? Or my other favorite thing is, I'm gonna buy a house with a view, okay? The next most important question is what?
What's a view to?
A view of what?
A view of what? What's a view to you and what's a view to me are two completely different things, okay? Some people want a view of the mountains. Some people want a view of the city. Some people want a view of no neighbors. Some people want a view of water. Some people want a view of Sleeping Ladies. Some people want a view of McKinley. Do you see what I'm saying? A view of what? There's lots of different kinds of views in Alaska, okay? Some people want a city view. Other people want a hillside view. Okay, it just depends. A view of what? Okay, that's subjective versus objective. There's not only one kind of view, right? Isn't that interesting? Okay. So one of the things that I might be doing is if I have some ways to overcome objections, okay, then that's really going to be smart for me. And then they're going to give you objections that somebody like, you're not really going to have thought of that. Oh my gosh, the price is too high. Okay. So if somebody were to say to you right now, I just showed them a house, and like, well, I kind of like it, but the price is too high. Okay, what do I say?
Thank you for caring enough to share that with me.
Nice. Thanks for caring enough to share that with me. That's pretty brilliant. You should write that down. Thanks for caring enough to share that with me. Thanks for telling me what you're really thinking.
I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, there you go. I appreciate your honesty. Okay. I typically don't ask people why they think what they think
Because they do.
Well, your perception is your reality. My perception is my reality. Okay. Do you imagine that people are shocked and amazed when they start going out and looking at properties?
Oh, yeah.
You think they're shocked by what they get?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
people are shocked in $500,000 what kind of house they get for $500,000.
You mean how little they get for $500,000?
You say it the way you say it, I say it the way I say it. Yeah, and they're just shocked. They're having sticker shock. If I'm paying $500,000, why aren't I getting the Taj Mahal, right? So what's our job to do?
To tell them who the hell cares.
No,
Oh.
I think it's our job to let them know that they have options. A $500,000 condo is completely different than $500,000 single family residence, and that decision is theirs. You know, I can get you a nicer property if you're willing to change the kind of property you're buying. Okay, are you willing to build what you want? Sometimes people can build what they want. Harder now than ever, but you still can. Are you willing to move out of the acreage pool?
I was just gonna say.
Are you willing to move out of the municipality? Are you willing to drive? Okay, but again, I'm asking questions and I'm making sure that they know that the decision is theirs. But I'm also, you guys, for some people, I'm planting a seed. Do you know what I mean? If I'm willing to show you exactly what you want, and if we can't find exactly what you want, then I'm willing to go farther or do more for you. Okay? Should we look at it for sale by owner script? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that'd be good.
That would be good? Okay.
Teresa, where are those scripts that you just did, the ones you were just on?
These are
Where is
all
that list?
They're on Mike Berry,
Okay.
on Complimentary Young. He has his own website. Okay? So, hi, this is Teresa Block with Jackrack Real Estate, and I'm calling about the home for sale at 3870 Caravel Drive. Is this the owner? Why am I asking to speak to the owner?
They're the only ones
Just
with
gonna
permission.
You don't want a kid.
Yeah, I don't want to be talking to somebody else. I'm doing a survey of all the for sale owners in the area, and I was wondering, if you sold this home, where would you go next? Okay, that's exciting. How soon do you have to be there? I have to be there within 3 months. Fantastic. Why are we becoming off as excited about this?
Because it is exciting. They're excited.
Yeah,
Because it is exciting.
Right? Okay. But do I want to be saying, that's exciting? Okay, tone of voice means a big deal. Okay, tonality is a big deal, which is why it says you have to practice. Because if you were just reading this blind, what happens if you read this? How soon do you have to be there? Fantastic. Now I sound sarcastic.
Yeah, fantastic.
Fantastic.
LA, ew. I mean, that's exciting.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sometimes why you want to practice these. You don't want to read them blind, okay? And you actually want to be there are people who do this, you guys, when they're talking on the phone, they have a mirror in front of them. And they're doing this, okay? Because when you actually smile, what happens to your tone of voice?
It comes across warmer.
Yep, it comes across warmer. How would you rate your motivation to move on a scale of 1 to 10? 5. Good for you. Good for you.
No,
Yeah,
it's
not
good for you.
good for you. Good for you. Want to be emphatic and the positive, right? What methods are you using to market your house? Signs and ads, and probably what else do you think is on there now?
For sale by owner MLS.
Craigslist.
Oh.
Craigslist. I'm going to bet you 100% that they have got their property listed on Craigslist. Okay. Do you notice at no point have I said can I come over yet? Do you see what I'm doing?
I'm
That's all of
dying to see how
mine.
you get there.
Okay, let's get there. Okay. How did you determine your sales price? I had an agent come over and do a CMA. Well, of course you did. Aren't you glad you weren't that person? Okay. Are you prepared to adjust your price down when working with a buyer? Well, I don't know. Okay. Terrific. Why did you decide to sell yourself rather than list with a real estate agent? What number one reason, guys?
Commission.
Money. A couple other reasons you're going to get. Ready? My agent didn't do anything for me. I hate real estate agents. They're crooks or something like that. You're going to get people who had a really, really negative experience with a real estate agent. Okay? You're going to hear that we don't do anything for the amount of money we're paid, that we don't have a value. Okay? You're going to hear most of the time, this is probably the number one reason why a for sale by owner will sell, will try to for sale by owner, is to save the commission. For $6,000 on every $100,000, and the fact that average sales price of the house is like $370, I'll just use $300,000. That's $18,000. Would I like that in my pocket or your pocket? Right, mine. Okay. Okay, if you were to list, which agent would you list with? None of you. Fantastic. Okay. How'd you happen to pick that agent if they did? Good for you. If you were to list, what would you expect the agent to do to get your home sold? Then they will tell you. That's great. How much time will you take before you consider interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home? Half the time they're going to go, they don't know. Okay, excellent. What has to happen before you'll consider hiring a powerful agent like myself for the job of selling your home? Perfect. Are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? No? You're kidding. Now you go, you're kidding. Terry.
Or fantastic.
Or yeah, okay. What would be the best time to show you? Now I'm looking for an appointment. Do you see that?
Tuesday at 2 or Wednesday at 4.
There you go. We're always giving them, why are we always giving somebody an option of an appointment? Again, they're in control.
It's respect.
So do you think that you could wouldn't you have to practice this? Do you see why you don't want to read this cold to somebody on the phone, that you actually have to practice?
I would have to practice. I find this would be hard.
Tell me what you think that'd be hard.
The whole, fantastic, or that's exciting. That's just not, you were saying earlier, it sounds candid, it's not me.
I
It's
think it
not the
sounds
way
like
I usually am.
You're right, but you know what? In your previous life, have you ever been doing real estate as a job?
No.
Selling. So if you've never been doing this as a job before, recognize that I'm trying to get an appointment with somebody. I'm just trying to get an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Because once I get an appointment, what's my chances of listing that property?
Much better.
1,000% more than just calling people on the phone, asking if I can get a buyer and look at it. Okay, I'm just trying to get an appointment, because if I can get an appointment, I can show my value proposition.
Mm-hmm. And again, a for sale by owner is not a cold call, it's a hot call.
Oh, for sure.
They've already made the determination to sell.
And probably here's something else that I always had in my mind, and Jean, I think this is very different. I had a burning need to get in front of that seller, because in my worldview, they needed me. They had no idea how badly they needed me. There were so many mistakes that they could make. Gosh, if you need to get somewhere in 3 months, you really need to have this house listed. You can't afford to go through having a DFT or something just to meet your deadline. I mean, I have a burning conviction that people need real estate agents. That's a true, I have a burning need. It's an absolute something that you're not going to talk me out of. I think buyers need to have representation when they're purchasing a property. I think sellers need representation when they're selling their home. Because I know of all the different ways that transactions can go sideways. Okay, they don't, I do. Don't you think brain surgeons think that people who have tumors need a surgeon?
Mm-hmm.
And I bet they think that they need not just a surgeon, but a brain surgeon. See what I mean?
And the best brain surgeon.
And the best in the country. So I feel this like with an evangelical fervor. Like people need God, like people need real estate agents. That's how I feel about it. And I'm not putting that on whatsoever. So it's my job to get into that house. How can I get in there? And then so many other people aren't doing this. You know what I'm saying? They're just not doing this. Okay, is there another one you guys want to look at real quick?
The for sale by owner scripts, Teresa, back up to that 1 second.
I was just there.
There is the first line, he has an option to that one.
Tell me what that is.
I'm doing a survey of all the for sale by owners in the area. He also says that you can say that I've noticed your home is for sale, and I was wondering what can I do to help you?
Oh, that's good. I was noticing your home was for sale. I was wondering what I could do to help you. That'd be a great thing. I would write that down. Does that sound more like you?
Yes.
Okay.
Because see, we objected to the fact that, are we really doing a survey? It's kind of a white lie. And he goes, well, you are surveying, otherwise you wouldn't be called it. I go, so that's what he told us to do.
I like that one. Say it one more time, Terry, please.
I noticed your home is for sale, and I was wondering what I could do to help you.
I was wondering what I could do.
And I was wondering, what can I do to help you?
There you go. And the dots are for a pregnant pause, just FYI.
Yeah.
All of them are for a pregnant pause.
You don't say the dot, though.
I was wondering,
Dot.
that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would
Dot,
be
dot,
dot. Because you're dying to talk to me. Let's see, let's just do it just sold. So this is where I think you're calling around. Hi, my name is Teresa Block with Jack Real Estate. I recently sold a home in your area over on John Drive. It has 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and it's sold for blah, blah, blah. We know when someone sells a home, usually 2 more sell right away. So I was wondering, what do you plan on doing? So now I'm looking for what?
Listings.
Listings. And guess what else I'm doing? I'm adding people to my database, right? Oh, well, we're not planning on moving. Terrific. How long have you lived at this address? Great. Where did you move from? Good for you. How do you happen to pick this area? Excellent. If you were to move, where would you go next? That's exciting. When would that be? Fantastic. It could take 1 to 3 months in this market to get home sold. Did you know that? Okay, so my question is, do you have to be sold in a month, or do you want to start selling at that time? Wonderful. Fortunately, to get you 1 step closer to LA, all we need now is to simply set an appointment so I can get what you want in the time you want. Won't that be great? What would be better for you, Monday or Tuesday at 4? And it is absolutely a true statement. Every time a for sale by owner, every time a sale sign goes up, you know what's going to happen in that neighborhood?
A bunch of them go.
A bunch of other properties are going to go up on the market. Watch it happen. Watch it happen in your own market if you don't believe me. It's the same thing that happened to me on Saturday morning. Guess what happened on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock?
That's the first sale sign came.
Nope, a lawnmower went off in my neighborhood. Guess what then happened?
10 more went off.
3 more lawnmowers went off on Saturday morning. Because what?
It's
Well,
catchy.
Well, no, because, oh my God, it's 9, that's pretty early, but if that guy's mowing his lawn, I can go up there and I can start a lawnmower too, and we're all, you know what I'm saying? But literally, if a house goes up for sale in that neighborhood, I almost guarantee you 2 more houses are gonna go up for sale. It happens, because just like that guy said to me, well, if they can sell their house for that, maybe it's time for me and the missus to get out of this neighborhood. So if you know that statistically, that is a true statement, and you guys can watch it happen in a neighborhood, the only thing that's really sad is there's been some neighborhoods in Anchorage, you guys, where one house goes on the neighborhood and every house goes up for sale. There's a couple streets, one house went up, so let me make sure, I think it's Eagle Point. Go look at Eagle Point. I think out of however many houses are in Eagle Point, a majority of houses are for sale right now.
Well, yeah, but that's
Okay? You know, and that has everything to do with what?
the military.
The military. But there's a group of people who are in that same squad. They're all being transferred out of here. They all bought in the same neighborhood, and all the houses are for sale. So knowing that piece of information, what does that mean for you when it comes to listings in Eagle River?
You can farm it.
And price them to sell.
Yeah, you gotta farm them and you have to price them to sell, okay? But, I mean, this is just, so you guys, here's something for you to know. If a house goes up for sale in a neighborhood, what does that normally mean?
2 more.
There's gonna be 2 more listings going up there. They can be with you or they can be with somebody else. If you're proactive and you start farming that neighborhood real quick, guess what you can have happen? You can be the listing licensee. And you are the cause of that business happening, not the reaction of that business happening. You're not hoping that they think of you to call. See that? Okay. Alrighty. So scripts, they're all right here, and there's a ton of them. So there are 40 real estate objections handled, absentee owner. What's an absentee owner, guys?
Someone that's in another state or somewhere else.
Yeah, somebody who doesn't live in their home for whatever reason.
Like my guy.
Well, yeah, your guy right now, he's an absentee owner, right? They've already moved. And they had a property that was being property managed, or was
No, he
rented?
just rented to friends, but now he's not
Doesn't-
going back to
doesn't want
Alaska, so he just doesn't want it.
Okay, so that tells you something. Right now, one of those searches I used to do in neighborhoods, I looked for out-of-state sellers. Okay? There's 2 reasons I looked for out-of-state sellers. Are you ready? Number 1, typically their house was rented to someone who was affording to pay rent on a single-family residence that would be as much as, typically, them buying. So what did I know right now?
You've got 2
There could be two
deals.
2 deals for the price of 1. Okay, and I like to leverage myself as much as humanly possible. So if I can get in front of a buyer, I'm excited. What happens if I can get in front of a room full of buyers? I'm way more excited, right? So if there's a guy who has his house, now he probably doesn't have any idea, hopefully, right? The renter's just paying rent, he's happy it's rented, he's really not thinking about it. But if he gets a postcard from me saying, do you have any idea how much equity you have in your home? Question mark. Call me now to find out. And are you ready for this? We had, God, I gotta remember the guy's name. He used to work at Prudential. Terry, you would know him. He was a really, really neat guy. But he would go and he would take a picture of the home, and guess what, guys? You guys don't even have to do this. You can do this off of Zillow Street Maps. Did you know this? Okay. He would literally go drive, take a photo of the home, and he would have that printed at Costco, and that would be a postcard. And he would use that picture as a postcard. Okay.
Of the person's
actual home.
Okay.
So he would go take a picture of their actual home, going, oh my gosh, do you have any idea how much equity is in your house? You should call me right now for a CMA. He made an entire living listing out-of-state sellers. And you want to know why he loved out-of-state sellers?
Because he didn't like to do listing presentations.
He didn't like to do listing presentations. He did everything via the mail, okay? He didn't have to go and meet with them. They were, once they got the house listed, they were a lot more aggressive in getting it sold. They would do price reductions. They would get stuff done, He found it was harder dealing with people who were living in their home. I think that's great. So there's buyer objections, buyer scripts, center of influence and past client scripts, CMA presentations, how to develop a sphere of influence. I printed that out for you. Expireds for seller owners, handling objections, just listed, just sold. Lead follow-up, listing plan of action for the client, listing plan of action scripts, listing presentation scripts, Mike Ferry, listing process, 1-minute presentation. Who wants to do a 1-minute presentation?
Oh, they're fabulous.
Okay. Hi, thanks for having me over. I'm excited about getting your home on the market and thanks for getting it sold. Do you mind if I take a quick look at your home? I write down 3 really important questions for you. Do you absolutely have to sell your home? That's a yes or no question, right?
Correct.
Okay. Will you price your home to sell, or do you want to keep it on the market for a long period of time? What did I just tell you?
Price it to sell.
Price to sell. Do you want me to handle the sale for you? Excellent. All we need now is to sign the contract. Okay. One of the things, if you're going on multiple listing presentations, okay, and getting multiple listing appointments, don't you think you want to get your appointments down to a very short period of time? People who spend, did you hear him say about people who go over and spend 4, 5, and 6 hours with sellers? You've got to be kidding me. You're in business. Does your doctor spend 4 hours with you?
No.
No.
Teresa, this script is for if you really know the people.
What's that?
This is if you really know your seller.
Yeah. Okay, sign the contract so I can help you what you want in the time you want. Will that be great? Okay, so 1-minute presentation, quick. Now, by the way, one of the questions I always used to ask somebody is, I was like, I have a CMA, I have an elaborate presentation for you. Do you want to go over it, or are you just ready to sign the paperwork? Some people, when they invite you over to list their home, guess what they actually mean?
I just want to list my home.
Where's the contract?
Yeah.
They don't want to
Get
go
this down.
through an entire presentation. Okay, and you frustrate them if you make them go through this elaborate presentation when all they really want to do is what?
Sign the contract.
Sign the contract. Okay,
Teresa, but you know what? Then you got to be a little bit careful on that one.
tell me about that one.
Well, make sure that they read your marketing plan, your plan of action. Make sure they're very clear with your plan of action, and make your plan of action short, sweet, and to the point, so they know exactly what to expect from
Oh,
you.
for sure, I totally agree with you. But I'm just saying, when somebody wants to actually just list,
That's
and
fine.
you frustrate them with some elaborate presentation.
Just get them to sign the paperwork. However, make sure that they understand it's your homework to read this marketing plan.
There
So
you go.
you know exactly what to expect from me, and please read it in your time frame, but not
Excellent.
2 weeks from now.
Exactly, I like that. Powerful, but I mean, when they're signing the paper, I'm going over my marketing plan, I'm talking to them about it, I think. That's what I would do. I would be talking to them about it while they were signing.
I don't, that's too frustrating for sellers.
Well, that could be, I haven't found that, but it could be. Powerful closes for expired, powerful closes for sell by owners, powerful closes for listing presentations, powerful closes for pricing, prospecting, pre-qualifying the listing, price objection script, prospecting the open house script. Did you
Do you have a price reduction script?
We can do that. Price reduction. I'm sorry, I lost it.
I can't see from here. Oh, I can. 1, 2, 3, 4 from the bottom. Right there.
Oh, it's a price projection.
I want a price reduction. Nope, that's for your listing.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I said that or higher. I don't know what I said.
Mr. Seller, I made a big mistake. May I please tell you about it? That's how it starts.
I don't see it. May not be one that's for you.
Okay.
You might have
It
to
might
pay-
be the advanced one too,
You might have
Teresa.
to pay for that and everything. You have to pay for that.
I can give it to you.
Well, let's get off of it. Price objection, pre-qualifying, you see a price, I don't price that.
That's okay.
Renters, resort properties, prospecting open house, price objection, pre-qual, proper closes, alpha. CMA, developing, expired, pre-qualified.
There are price reductions.
Let's try that right here. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean.
She knows everything, she
She's
reads.
I think it's an extra now.
Did I hit the wrong one? And, yeah, I know, because I'm being offered. Sorry,
Grab the little offer script.
right here.
Right there.
Okay, I see it, and I just got to click here.
You gotta click way over there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hard.
I made a terrible mistake when I listed your home. When I explained, when I listed your home, I wasn't strong enough on price. So I already wrote down 4 solutions, reduce the price tonight by percentage, add an additional 1 to 2% commission for the selling agent, extend the listing agreement to its original term. I'll have to give you the listing back. I know it's tough, which of the 4 would be better for you. So Terry, walk me through this. What would be your listing to somebody?
Well, I'll call, first of all, I always give them a price range when I list, and if they insist on a higher range, I bring back my broker's opinion of value and show them another one.
Okay.
And I tell them, look at, it's time, I made a horrible mistake, I should have been stronger in my presentation to you. Do you want, when I listed your property, you said you wanted to sell, not sit, so here we go, it's time for a price reduction.
Okay, sell, not sit. I like that. Do you like to sell, not sit?
I don't like I made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, I don't like
You don't like
Well,
that?
then,
Okay, so tell me what.
well, then what did you do if you weren't strong enough to list it at the price you knew it was supposed to list for? It's your mistake, not theirs.
Well, if you give them a
Or
range,
seller,
they
Mrs.
should be
Seller, I
able
let you
to
make my decision for me.
insert a statement.
You can do that
What
too.
would you say? What would you say, Jean?
I think I would bring up our previous conversation, assuming we had it, about how you set the price, however, or you set the price, however, the market sets the value, and it looks like the market is telling us something.
Yeah, the market speaks. I always say.
And
that to sellers.
so,
The market is speaking. The market speaks to you because if your property isn't getting shown, what does that tell you?
You're 10% too high at least.
Something's wrong. If you're getting shown and nobody's making an offer,
You're about 5% too high, 2 to 5% too high.
or something's wrong.
Well, that's what's wrong, it's always your price.
It's not necessarily always your price. There could be something in the home that's an objection.
It always equals the price.
It can.
It always equals
It
the
can,
price.
or they can fix it.
Okay,
They can fix
if
it.
they choose not to fix, it's always the price. So if you want a higher price, you gotta do this to your home. But it's
Good.
always the price.
Good, but I'm just saying, I've walked into houses where I know exactly the problem. They've been smoking in the house. Okay? You said you wouldn't smoke in the house, we got it repainted, you're smoking in the house, smokers won't buy other smokers' houses. If you smoke in this house, we can't sell it. So, now, we can do one of 2 things. If you stop smoking in the house, we get the smell of smoke out, then we can get your house on the market. But unless you're willing to do that, then you're gonna have to significantly reduce the price of this property. What are you willing to do? There could be an actual thing that they can fix. Okay. Okay. So there's a lot of meat here on this bone, and there's typically a reason why they ask this progression of questions. Okay. And you may want to shorten this up or do some of that stuff, that's up to you. You may not like some of the language if you want to change it, but here's what I would tell you. If it doesn't work the way you're doing it, what would I tell you to do? Try it out this way, or try it out this way first. But again, I do agree that if you're not really willing to, if what you're saying makes you uncomfortable, you're gonna come out uncomfortable. So, but you basically want to get the same information.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
You want to get the same information. And Terry's point is, well, I think her point is, if you are not willing to be really aggressive with how a property is priced, you know, if you're not willing to do that, and the market rejects the price, you've got to go back.
You've made the mistake. It's as simple as that.
Well, whatever.
You say I made a mistake, but I made a terrible mistake.
Well, then
That
don't
sounds
use
like
terrible, but I
hired
made a
someone that
mistake.
was
I
terrible
misinterpreted the
mistake.
market. Here's what the market's now telling you. It's
But I
really
mean, I like to say the market talks to you all the time. The market will tell you, and I warn the seller all the time. The market will talk to us. It will tell us whether or not we've got the property priced correctly, because we'll either get it in showings, okay? And if we're not getting a ton of showings, then we've got a problem, okay? It will also tell us on length of time we're on the market, okay? So if a property is not being shown, and all of a sudden we're coming up on, you remember all the way back to your statistics, you've got a good property, it's in a good neighborhood, and it's not being shown, okay, there can be a couple, what can be some additional reasons why that you might not be getting shown?
check to make sure it's an MLS. You better check that every week.
Okay.
I'm serious, you guys.
Trust me. Okay, once we know that it's an MLS, okay, but what kinds of stuff could prevent somebody from getting a house shown?
Maybe the seller didn't want to lock box, so it's harder to access.
Access would be huge, what else? By appointment only would be hard, you're making it tough for it to get a buyer in, what
Yeah.
else? I'll give you some other ones, road construction. Road construction, fishing, Christmas. You know, there could be some real reasons why that property isn't being shown, does that make sense? Some things can be outside. You guys, I gotta take a break right now for about 10 minutes. 10 minutes, can you believe it? It flew by that fast.
Now I know why you didn't text me back, Teresa.
Because I was working.
Yes?
I have curtains. Now, let me, yeah.
Man, I'm tired, I guess that's tired.
Teresa, thank you for giving our new licensees this radical information.
This radical information.
Yep, I love it. People think this is so brutally honest. It just, I love it.
Is there a way to tell, our, clients to give them a report? It's easy, like MLS gives us those reports of, you know, how many times it was hit on, you know, Flex MLS.
So does, I think you have John Montgomery, he does a fantastic, and I'm happy to show you that, John Montgomery.
'Cause I wonder if there's a way we can see what's happening on Realtor.com, Zillow, and Julia, and all those things.
I don't know, I can't answer that question. And by the way, I'm promising anybody anything unless I know the answer to it. Did you just hear what I just said?
Chris.
Yes. I'm not promising anybody anything.
No.
But I can show you,
Can you show us sometimes how to do a blitz email? I see all these emails of advertisement coming from other realtors, but I don't know how to do that. Do I need to go to MLS and have them show me?
you can totally do that. Have you looked around on the, have you looked at the,
No, I haven't watched the training.
okay,
That's a good
A
idea.
number one? I'm watching the training, right? I'm going to Flex.
And what's
Because
that called?
Not only do they have, all of the, they have it written out, they also have videos for you, right? So you can,
It's the mass licensing email, is kind of what the mass,
well, let's see.
all that need.
So if I go to help, up here, you guys, there's user guides, video tutorials, forums. So, advanced, mass, MLS mass email right here. Okay.
That's good.
I'm gonna answer your question, right?
Welcome to the tutorial on the MLS email function of Flex MLS Web. Features will vary according to your MLS preference. To access the MLS email function, Click on MLS email under daily functions on your menu. Begin by choosing who you would like to email. According to your MLS preference, you may choose everyone in your MLS, everyone in the company or designation, or specific individuals. From the MLS Office Broadcast selection box, you may choose to send an email to the entire MLS or to any number of offices you wish. Selecting an office from this box will email everyone in that office. From the individual email box, you may choose to either send a message to the main office email address, or you can scroll down to find and select individual members from a specific office. To enter recipients, choose an item from the list at the left side of the screen and click Add. Your selected recipient will then be displayed in the recipient list. If you add a recipient in error, select the recipient from the list and click Remove Recipient. Here, we'll email everyone in an office. Scroll down to compose the body of your message. Click the blue check mark to check the spelling of your email message. To send a copy of the email to yourself, place a check in the box marked Send a copy to you. To include a link to listing information, click the Add Listing link. Enter a list number in the box and select the report type. If you know that your recipients include AOL users, click the checkbox to insert a link in the format preferred by the AOL email client. Finally, click Insert Link. Click Send Mail to send to all listed recipients. A confirmation screen will display the number of email addresses to which your message has been sent. This concludes the tutorial on the MLS email function of Flex MLS Web. Thank you.
How did you get the?
Yeah, you get different reports from different people, but some reports are just better than others. I think,
I like the full report.
I do too. I don't like one little tiny picture with a little tiny thing.
So you need to, maybe you need to just send it to yourself and send it to the right report.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea.
Not one person. And you probably want to send it to yourself first anyway, because you do not want to, you want to see what it comes across. I see a lot of people don't remove that text in the box, or they don't do all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So. Anytime you need help on Flex, where do you go?
Flex.
You go help.
Help on Flex.
Help. You see that? And there's all kinds of video tutorials, you just go and
Yeah. And I think
I had a
we
dream
some
last
more
night.
guests tonight.
About that open house. It's the first time I've gone to that house and looked at it.
Thank you.
I dreamt last night that I went to do the open house. It was pouring down rain and I forgot to bring open house
Do you need
signs.
more now?
Everything just was horrible. Nobody came to the open house, not one person. It was like, what a horrible dream.
You were dreaming something?
Yeah.
That
That was my dream. I dream. Oh, I'm such a dreamer. So are you here in this office here?
Tim.
Tim, I'm Lori.
Lori, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How long have you been
I got my license in end of May.
I didn't bring you some more.
June, yeah.
Okay.
So you're everything making. Oh,
I'm sure I want to be. So that's good.
That's good.
Yes.
Yes.
The A-Rucker. A-Rucker.
A-Rocket. Does everybody know the A-Rec changed and it's new and exciting? Are these CE classes?
There's gonna be a CE class.
If I already, what's the number?
Right on there, 27, 43.
Where do you see that? You're so fast. On this page here? Oh. 2743? Let me run up and see if I got that. If you give it and if somebody else gives it, is it a different number?
No.
So could I already have taken this one?
I can't answer that question. I'm not in charge of your CE.
No, I mean, that means I could have, right?
Can't answer that question. Who's in charge of your CE?
You?
No.
Wrong answer?
And I refuse. And you notice I always refuse, but, who's in charge of yours? Okay, so why do we want to talk about the A-record? How important is it? It's a big deal. How big a deal is it?
A big deal.
Like what kind of big deal?
Like, you don't do it, then we yell that.
Oh, yell that.
Probably more than that.
A-rec is disclosure. A-rec is disclosure. The A-rec. And does everybody, okay, so in FYI, why do we call it the A-rec? What does it stand for?
Alaska Real Estate
That's Alaska Real Estate Commission, AREC. Alaska Real Estate Commission. Okay, and basically, guys, let me just be really honest with you. We started using AREC as a when we first got this form, and it has stuck like glue. So you're going to call it an AREC. Okay, if you hear people calling it that, you know what it is. You know what we're talking about. But this is one way that you can get in really serious trouble with the Real Estate Commission is to fail to disclose. Okay, this is your basic number 1 disclosure. Okay, so if you fail on this one, it's kind of what we would consider foundational. So what happens when you are in basketball and you carry the ball?
Foul.
Okay, it's a foul. Okay, right, and it means traveling. What does traveling mean? You weren't doing what? You weren't bouncing the ball, right, or dribbling the ball. And when you start seeing, do you see very many fouls in college games or NBA games? In high school games, you see traveling all the time.
Yeah.
In junior high school games, you see traveling all the time. What happens when you start getting to high school, college, and right? So it's very rare, probably one of the rarest fouls in the NBA is a traveling foul. Okay, because it's foundational that you know how to you know how to dribble the ball when you are moving up the court. Okay, so you have to be really. You're not going to see that foul called very often, right? So this is the kind of party foul that I do not want you getting involved in, right? Not having an AREC signed, right? It is unacceptable on all fronts for you not to have an AREC signed, okay? And this is with a buyer or a seller. Now, I don't have AREC shoved down my shirt when I'm out in public. And there are many times I know right now, when do you need to have, what is the barrier, or when do you know that you need to start having somebody sign an AREC?
Prior
For showing.
Okay, prior to showing, right? But then, you need to know about when you need to have this document signed. It's when you start having significant conversation. Now, I've been sitting there having coffee, and somebody has been starting to give me like confidential information, and they're starting to, and I've said to myself, what have I said to myself out loud in my head? Ooh, I need to AREC this person. Okay. Sometimes I didn't have the document on me. Obviously, I'm in the grocery store. I don't carry ARECs with me in the grocery store, okay? So I think to myself, So I've moved into when I start having what we would consider to have significant confidential conversations with somebody where I need to start having this document executed, all right? Now, also, I don't want you to be weird. Do you know what I mean? I don't want you to be like out at dinner and be like, okay, Tim, we're starting to have significant conversations and I need to AREC you, because they're going to think you're what? That's going to be uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's going to be uncomfortable. So you need to have a way of like letting somebody know. And one of the ways that I always kind of try and crack a joke probably, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to tell you something. This is kind of weird. We're like vibing. I'm feeling really good about the possibility that you really want to buy a house. I'm super excited. I would love to help you. Oh my God, you're going to help me? That's going to be great. I need to let you know something though. We got to kind of formalize our relationship up. I'm going to have to ask you to sign some documents. Is that going to be okay with you? Okay, now I'm okay to say that, and I don't think that makes me come across like a lunatic, right? But if I just say, okay, hang on, I need to like, out of my, cocktail dress, whip out an AREC, that is going to be bizarre. Okay, so I need you to figure out a way
I need you to figure out a way where this can be a normal, natural thing to happen. Okay?
About when would it like cross the line to like when they're talking about their finances or like?
Typically when somebody starts telling you anything where they really, you can tell and they can tell where we're really formalizing our relationship. They're letting you know that they want you to be their licensee and you're starting to move into confidential territory. They're, if they start telling you their motivations, that they need to make this much money, that they owe this much on their house. Okay, all of a sudden, what do you know? I have tiptoed past. We're solidifying our relationship. And of course, if somebody says, oh my gosh, I totally want you to come over and list my house, what do you know? AREC. Okay, oh my gosh, I totally want you to start showing me houses. I want you to represent me. AREC. Okay? Go ahead, tell me what you're thinking.
Just the kindergarten version of this form is basically the real estate commission's requirement for the buyer or seller to sign so that they understand the relationship between a licensee and the buyer and seller.
Correct.
Because different types of representation.
And what's okay, what's legally allowed, and what's not legally allowed. Okay?
So that's kind of
Yeah, and this is kind of this is a way, and by the way, some of us, remember, did you hear me earlier when I told you when I first started selling real estate, there was no such thing as buyer representation agreements? Okay, a lot of us used our agency disclosure as a way to kind of formalize our relationship with a buyer that they were our client. Do you get what I'm saying? Tell me, explain to me what I just said, Lori.
that you used your agency
Disclosure
as
a way to solidify my relationship with a buyer because I didn't have a buyer's representation agreement. It wasn't, 26 years ago, you couldn't represent a buyer. Okay, buyers, it wasn't even an option that you had, believe it or not. Okay, so I had to use the documents I had to talk about developing a relationship with somebody. Okay, so the consumer disclosure, here's something else that they really, this is the first time this form has ever gone through a change. I'm sure in the next little bit it's not going to be the last, but when this document originally came out in 2005, it was in response to a class action lawsuit, boys and girls. What is a class action lawsuit? Big one. Okay, where they were going to sue every single company that had done a dual agency contract for commission and return all commission to sellers. Okay, does that sound like something you want to get involved in? Would you like to have your commission returned? No. Okay, so this is a consumer disclosure. So one of the things that you might want to do for your purposes that I used to do was I used to highlight the parts where it said, this is disclosure. And then I would also point out, one of the lovely things I like to point out is, do you see this right here? This is a seal of the state of Alaska. Mm-hmm. What I'm letting you know is this form is actually from the state of Alaska, and this is a requirement of the state. So why am I saying that?
Because it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get you to do this. This is a requirement. And I have to do this in order to do my job. And it's a and again, these words will work with you, script. I use the words non-optional event. This is a non-optional event. I cannot show property. I can't talk to you anymore about your listing without executing this document. And I make it really normal and natural. And I kind of am like, I have to do this. I have to let you know all of a sudden that we're moving into I know we're not dating, but we're moving into a relationship. We're developing a relationship with one another, okay? Provides an outline of the duties of the real estate licensees. This document is not a contract. Again, I highlight that, not a contract. We haven't moved that far, but we've just begun the part where I'm required by law to do this. And isn't it nice when you have a requirement by law? Isn't that cool? It really is. Isn't that nice? So you've got.
Whether you work with me or whether you work with another agent.
Right. This is going to be. That's right. This is going to have to be executed. By signing this document, you are simply acknowledging that you have read the information herein provided and understand the relationship between you as a consumer and me as a licensee, okay? So there's different types of relationships between a consumer and a licensee. Here are the relationships that are provided by law. Specific assistance. Okay, I want you to recognize that specific assistance is a lot like just helping someone out, or as we like to say sometimes, helping someone do the paperwork. Specific assistance. I'm just helping you out. Okay? Has anybody ever, I look at this like salespeople who are non-commissioned when they open the magic, have I ever told you my story about being in Best Buy? Okay, well, normally at Christmas, I invariably find myself in a store that I absolutely, and I'm sorry for anybody who loves the store or has great service at this store, I do not. I hate Best Buy with every little fiber of my being. I despise going in there. I don't like how noisy and loud it is. I don't like that typically the things that I am there to purchase are behind a locked cabinet. I find the salespeople to be playing with video games or watching movies and typically not helping consumers that are walking around that need their help. And I find it to be very frustrating as a consumer to walk into that store. So when I finally am in that store and I'm typically in there, I've got two boys, I'm buying some game console or some game that's locked behind a cabinet, and I have to like look around for some little Skippy in a blue shirt to come over and unlock the door, and then if I finally can get their attention, they'll come over and then they do a perp walk with me up to the cash register. Well, they do. They basically take you by the arm to walk you to make sure that you don't steal the thing between when they give it to you and walking up to the cash register. So I find the entire thing to be very uncomfortable. But I don't care whether or not that kid makes commission or not. Do you know what I'm saying? I just want the thing. I just want whichever one of you in a blue shirt will get over here, will put down the game console piece and come over and open it so that I can get up to the cash register and get out of here. Because my number one priority at Best Buy is to get the hell out of the store as quickly as possible. Number one priority, okay? So I don't care who's helping me. And I don't care if he makes commission or not, because I have never personally had a fantastic customer service experience at Best Buy. And if you've ever had to try and take something back to Best Buy, oh, pray God help you. If you ever have to return something, they're not big, they don't like to return things. Just letting you know that, okay? So, helping, they're just helping you. Do you care who gets the commission? No.
Give me an example.
So for example, a for sale by owner. I have a buyer who's interested in purchasing a for sale by owner, and I can negotiate a commission with the for sale by owner. I'm going to offer that seller specific assistance. You're not my client. I'm going to do all of the tasks that it takes and do all the paperwork to get that property sold, but you're not my client.
Okay.
I am just going to help you out. Okay? How about if you guys have a builder account? Someday you have a builder account, right? You're only going to be able to provide buyers who come in to the open houses who want to purchase that property. You're only going to be able to provide them specific assistance because I represent the builder. I can help you purchase this property, but you're not my client. Who's my client?
Builder.
The big builder is my client. Okay, do you see that? I can help you. I can do a good job. Okay, I can provide you good service, but you're not my client. Okay, so think of specific assistance.
What's the difference between that and neutral licensee?
Neutral licensee means you have two clients that you are now helping. You have two clients that you're now helping. Each one of them you're helping, and neither one of them is superior to the other.
Each of them assistance.
You're giving each of them assistance.
You're not representing.
You cannot represent two parties in the same transaction.
Buyer, you're
You
always
never have been able
representing the
to.
Builder, you're always representing the builder.
What's that?
But you always represent the builder.
In a relationship where you're going to receive a large amount of money from one particular person, you're always going to have to represent them because you're just never going to be able to convince an attorney that on this transaction you could be neutral to them and on another transaction you could represent them. You're just not going to be able to convince a judge, who's another name for a fancy attorney, that that's possible.
Or even the builder.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to convince Lauren Spinell
No.
that, or Spinelli, that you can, fairly represent her and somebody.
And no, you just that goes beyond the bounds of logic. Okay, So specific assistance says, here's what you owe when you owe somebody specific assistance. And every single one of you, I know for sure, is going to be able to do this without a problem. And you're going to be able to exercise reasonable skill and care. Now, let me ask you, what is reasonable skill and care? That's a very high threshold. That's not a low threshold. Okay, I have to exercise the same reasonable skill and care that Gabe Steffen. Who's Gabe Steffen? He's our broker. I have to exercise the same kind of reasonable skill and care that Gabe does. It's a very high threshold. It's not a low threshold. Okay. Honest and good faith, fair dealing. What does that mean?
You're not doing fraud, or you're not
Yep.
trying to go behind the back.
Yep, I'm being honest with you. I'm being fair with you. And that sometimes gets people in, gets them in trouble because you get mad at somebody for something. Doesn't matter if you get mad or not, you still have to give them honest, good faith, fair dealing, period. Okay, that's the law, okay? I have to timely present all written communication. Okay, I have to disclose all material information known by a licensee regarding the physical condition of a property. Timely presentation of all written communication. What?
Her to say something?
Emails?
What's that?
Emails?
Sure.
Tell people about the property?
Timely communication of all written information. Timely presentation of all written communication. Most of us right now, and I think where we're going with this is most of us right now are transmitting contracts via email. So what's timely?
Are you, the communications part is what has me spinning.
Okay,
What
that's always been there, so why would that have you spinning?
It just dawned on me, communication means a whole lot more than just offers.
Sure,
Amendments, addendums.
absolutely,
hours.
absolutely, absolutely, always has,
Timely presentation of all written communication.
always has, always.
Emails.
Can be, depends on what they are. Some emails should and could be shared with clients, some should not.
Okay, well, it says here, all written communication. That bothers me. It just.
I can't help that, Terry. That's what it says. Okay, that's always been the law. That's been the law like 20 years ago. It's not new.
It just hit me.
It's not new. Always been there. They didn't just make this up. It's always
So
been
if I
there.
decide to be part of an ask to email to somebody because I don't feel my sellers need to hear about it,
I probably would do the same thing.
is that all?
I mean, I think there never is a good reason to inflame certain situations.
I guess I'm just sitting going, all.
Okay, I think you're wrapped around too much of an axle.
Okay.
I think what we're really talking about, the things that you absolutely have to get to the client are things that clients have to sign. Okay, right? I am not now at liberty, nor have I ever been, nor has it ever been a law that I have to tell a buyer or seller all the nasty things that other people say about them. That's never been something that we've had to do, okay? So don't get wrapped around the axle too much. Let's move on. Disclosing all material information known by a licensee regarding the physical condition of the property. Now, known by me, what's known and what's not known?
It better be material facts that you absolutely can back up.
Okay, but what's known? Again, that's what I'm trying to, I do not have x-ray vision, but what can I tell you about the back of the room? Okay, I spy that with my naked eye. I know that there's evidence that someday, a million years ago, water was present there. Okay, but I do not know right now what the condition is. Now, here's what I can tell you. I was in this room about 10 years ago. That was still a stained ceiling tile, right? I took a class here a million years ago. When I started working here years ago, that's a stained ceiling tile. It's been here, so it's not actively leaking. It's just evidence that there was presence of what?
Something leaking somewhere.
Something leaked. What? I don't know. And it's not actively leaking right now. Now, beyond that, what can I tell? Okay, so here's something that I can absolutely tell you is a material defect.
That's why
Okay, right now, look behind you guys. Do you see that door that's hanging off on that cabinet?
Yeah.
Okay. I spy that with my naked eye. I see it. I know it to be true. Okay. That's something I would have to disclose. Okay. But I cannot see through walls or floors. Okay. I do not have that as a superpower. Okay. So you just have to recognize what the limits are. It's things that you can observe. Or that you, and also possibly things that have been shared with you, okay? Timely accounting of all money and property received by a licensee. Typically, what money are we receiving, guys? Okay, what's the law?
Must be deposited in our trust account. I thought it was 5 days, someone was talking 3.
No, immediate, the word is, the law says immediately. Immediately means what?
Immediately.
Immediately means the minute you get that, it's supposed to be turned in, okay? And immediately also means that if I'm out doing a contract with the buyer and I'm driving by the office on my way home, what am I supposed to do?
Forget about it and act like you didn't remember till the next morning.
No,
Oh.
pull in, stop, and deposit that money upstairs. And look at think of earnest money. I think of earnest money as being radioactive. I want it out of my hands as quickly as possible, and I want it in the broker's hands. Okay, so when I thought to myself, okay, earnest money is radioactive, and I want it out of my hands and in his. The minute I kept thinking about that, I was like, ooh, radioactive. Checks are radioactive. I want to get them out of my hands. Or they are laminate flooring from China. That's what they are. Nobody else watched 60 Minutes? I loved that. I sat there.
Didn't you want to just call everyone you know and say, I told you,
I
told you.
knew it. I knew it. Okay, representation. Representation looks like, sounds like, and is. I am your warrior champion. So I owe you all the previous things, okay? I also can't intentionally take actions which are adverse or detrimental to a consumer. I have to have timely disclosure of all conflicts of interest to you. That means immediate, okay? Okay, and typically conflicts of interest are relational, guys, relational. Like I'm a real estate licensee in the state of Alaska. My sister and I have my mom's house listed. And my mom's a broker. So we have double, triple things that we have to disclose up front. And we have to tell everybody who comes to the door when it comes to an open house that we, not only are we licensees in the state of Alaska, but this is our mother's property. Oh, and she's the broker. Oh, and we're licensed. Okay, do you see that? So I have to say that. Also, you guys, when you do listing presentations and we're talking with buyers, and of course, remember I told you that it's really smart for you to use the in-house things that you have here. It's smarter for you to work smarter instead of harder. But I immediately have to disclose that the owner of our company has an ownership interest in both those entities, and they have the right to make a different decision if they're not comfortable with that. Most people like to find things out on the front end, then they make the decision as a consumer, they're good with it. If they find out on the back end, they kind of feel like something skeezy has just happened, like you've taken advantage of them somehow and didn't give them all the information. It just leaves bad taste in people's mouth. But when you tell somebody something on the front end, then they get to make an informed decision, right? Okay. Advising the consumer to seek independent expert advice if a matter is outside the expertise of a licensee. Okay. So what kinds of things are outside my area of expertise? Let's be real.
Electric,
What's that?
contracting.
Contracting, home inspection, lending. What else? I'm not a surveyor. I'm not a title examiner. What else?
Yeah, issues of public access or maintenance or all that stuff that could get weird.
Yeah.
You know, somebody's using my driveway.
Homeowners associations, homeowners, CCNRs, what else? All that kind of stuff. What do? I am a salesperson who markets and sells property. You're a salesperson. You sell houses. Okay, you market houses for sale and you sell houses. That's what you're an expert in. What am I not an expert in? All the other stuff. So I'm going to always, even though you guys are going to turn out, you're going to know a fountain of information about lending. You're still going to let the lender be the expert. Yes.
Question now. When we're filling out the MLS input form, it says what financing is this available for? I don't understand why they asked me that.
Of course you do, because you know that. That's information that you can, number one, find out. That's not hard. So if it's a single family residence, unless it's an unfinanceable property, meaning it's not finished, then all financing can apply, okay? What you really have to do is be careful on condos. Certain condominium associations are not able to be financed. So that's not outside your area of expertise. That's a question you ask.
But do I ask it to home state mortgage?
Sure.
But hopefully you got somebody that went to the lender before you're running them around, and so you get your good faith as a lender. You talk to your lender before you break the contract out.
Well, she's talking about listing. She's talking about when she does the listing, how do I know what kind of financing? is
But each
available.
buyer qualifies for something different, right?
No, but there should be, that should not be, that's not outside your area of expertise whatsoever. So for example, if a property is in Palmer, what do I know right now that it qualifies for, that it doesn't qualify for in Anchorage?
That rural financing.
Or RD,
RD.
yeah. And that's not outside, because I'm not saying that you're going to get a loan. I'm saying that the property itself qualifies for that. Okay, now, here's when it gets sticky. Let's say I have a trailer on a piece of property. Now there's a question. Does it have a foundation? Has it been permanently attached, or is it simply skirted? Now all of a sudden I've got a different question that I have to ask, okay? Because you do have to represent a property accurately, especially condos, you guys, and especially in Anchorage condos, okay? I will tell you, there are not thousands of condominium complexes out in the valley. There's a few, not hundreds. Would you agree?
I
Okay.
don't think there's any in Palmer.
I think there are, but I can't point them out, but I think there
Oh,
are.
yeah, Monte Vista.
Yeah. I think there are. But there's not tons, okay? In the municipality, there are pages and pages and hundreds of different condominium complexes. And not all of them allow certain kinds of financing. So you have to accurately tell a buyer whether or not, and you could be wrong. Because somebody could lose their HFC financing overnight. I mean, that's how tricky that is, okay? But the things that you are not an expert in, I'm supposed to advise. And a lot of those questions, I can go and I can ask questions of a lender. Do you see what I'm saying? To accurately do that. All right, not intentionally take actions which is adverse or detrimental, timely disclosure of conflicts of interest, not disclose consumer confidential information during or after representation without written consent, unless required by law. And required by law means you're under a court order or a subpoena. Court order or a subpoena. And by the way, who can subpoena you?
Well, the real estate commission.
Yes, they can, and they have police powers over you. Okay? Not disclose the terms or the amount of money a consumer is willing to pay or accept for a property if different than what a consumer has offered or accepted for a property. If authorized by the consumer, the neutral licensee may, oh, I'm sorry. I skipped something. I apologize. I need to go back. I went directly to neutral licensee. I skipped there. Okay. I'm on E, not disclosing consumer confidential information, and then make a good, F is what I missed. Make a good faith and continuous effort to accomplish a consumer's real estate objectives. What does that mean? That means while you want to buy a house and while you're my client, I have to show you property if that's what you want to do. While you have your house listed, I have to keep your property listed. And if I'm really doing my job, your flyer box is full. And if I've offered to do open houses for you, I'm doing the open houses. I'm doing the marketing pieces that I said that I was going to do. If I told you I was going to go get professional photos done, I go and do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I do my part to get your property sold, okay? It is not, however, okay, now sellers can get a little crazy here. And Ava had an experience, okay? And some of us are really careful what we put in our marketing proposals. And we're really, really careful about having them sign and even in listing agreements saying that we're going to market the property and we're going to do these things as per our marketing plans. Ava had a lovely property listed in downtown Anchorage, and the sellers wanted her to send a personal letter to every homeowner in Anchorage, letting them know that their house, every homeowner in Anchorage.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? But that's what they were asking for her to do to market. And she's like, number one, I'm not going to do that. And number two, that would far out exceed the amount of money that you pay me as a commission. And they were demanding that as part of their marketing plan. And because she had them sign her marketing plan, she was able to say, I would not do that. I couldn't do that. That's what?
Crazy.
More money than I would make on commission. Okay, so these are some of the things you've got to recognize. Okay, okay. Neutral licensing. Neutral means, I need you to understand this. Neutral means you have two clients, a seller client and a buyer client. And in order to move into neutral, these two things have to exist. I have to have a listing that a buyer client would like to purchase, or I have a buyer client who all of a sudden I list a property that meets the needs of that buyer client, and then they have to want to buy it. But I have to have two mutual things. What are the two mutual things first? I have to have a client and a listing. Okay? Otherwise, I have no purpose to move into neutral licensee. Okay? So, means that I've got a listing and I meet a buyer and I know that my listing would be perfect for this buyer client, right? So I have to ask them, do you understand that I'm gonna have to ask, everybody has to give me permission, and they have to understand that my relationship with them changes from warrior champion to assistance. And the way that makes sense to me is I have more than one child, okay? And I have two kids, and oftentimes they have competing interests with their mom, okay? I'm able to be fair to both of my children, okay, without selling one of them down the river. Does that make sense? So, Jean, you have 3 children. Would you agree that you have the skill set to be able to do that? Would you agree that sometimes your kids are in war with one another? Okay, but you are able to be fair to both of those people? That's a lot like being a neutral licensee. Okay, now, anybody in here a bigamist? Tim?
No.
You want to talk about it? You want to share? I'm totally kidding. I can't be married to 2 people at the same time. It's illegal, isn't it? The same thing. You can't represent 2 parties in the same transaction. It's not possible. Okay? The law does not allow. That's why neutral licensee exists. So I can provide both people good service, okay? But neither one of them raises over the other. Okay? So, go ahead.
You stop operating for their best interest.
Correct.
Like, you know.
Well, just
you're
like
not for their best interest or not for their best interest.
Correct.
You're just.
Okay. So, when I say Switzerland, what does everybody know about the country Switzerland?
Allegedly neutral.
They're neutral.
That's chocolate.
They're neutral. And why are they neutral? What's the deal about them? Why are they neutral? What's the purpose? Because they were too small of a country and they didn't have a big military. And so they would be so they decided to become neutral to the surrounding countries. They weren't going to get involved in their scraps. So they were going to say, I like France and I like Germany. I like you too. I like you and I like you too. Okay? So they're staying neutral. You have, as a person, you have the ability to do this. This is okay. And you can make both sides of the commission. That's absolutely a-okay. But you just can't advocate for one party more than the other. You cannot advocate for someone over the other person. So that means that you have to kind of switch the way you operate. Go ahead. I know.
Because when I was at this home, I was leaving the subdivision.
Sure.
And I drove by somebody's home that I know, and they were outside in their yard.
Sure.
So I stopped and visited with them, and they, what are you doing in my subdivision? And I said, oh, there's going to be a house going up for sale here, and I'm going to be listing it. And she immediately started asking me questions about it.
Sure.
And she said, I want to know when that comes on the market because I am really interested.
And you're like, great.
Yeah.
Great.
So if when it goes on the market, and I tell her this house is on the market,
Sure.
Because then I would have to have both parties have signed the waiver.
Correct.
And then I could operate that way and actually get full commission.
Absolutely. Yes.
If
If she were to
As a
follow
matter-
through on being a
Thumbs
buyer.
up, I encourage. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Because I was nervous at first. I thought, oh, what am I getting into? It just sounds scary. But, and she told me that yesterday I saw her at church, she's a church friend. She said, I'm actually going to go look into the financing.
Great. And here's what you tell her. If this property doesn't work out, let's find you a different one.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good.
Because here's the good news. Good news, bad news, guys. Just because you have a buyer who sounds like they might love this listing you have, guess what happens when they walk into it?
They hate it.
They hate it. It's not right for them. Okay? So no harm, no foul. All right? But your seller would have had to have given you permission to show the property to a buyer client of yours. Okay? And that's the waiver. The waiver allows you to show a buyer client a listing that you have in your listing inventory. Now, here's what's really easy. Are you ready? If you don't have any listings and you don't have any buyers, you don't have to worry about it. Right? If I don't have any listings and I'm working with a whole bunch of buyers, do I have to worry about a waiver or going neutral? No. When do I have to worry about it? When you have both. When I'm working with both listings and I'm working with buyers. Then you have to get excited. Go ahead.
So she, as far as the AREC goes.
Yes.
Right now, she just knows that the woman is interested, let me know.
Mhm.
So when she makes her call to say.
I've got the property.
Susan Q, the property's listed.
Yep.
If you're interested, I'm gonna need to have you sign.
Yep.
The AREC. I'm just.
Yes,
Is that
and you're
correct?
present, and in order for me to show you this listing, I have to let you know that we're gonna move into the neutral licensee position. No problemo.
And the waiver is just acknowledging that.
Yes,
You
Yep.
realize that you're, assisting both.
yes, and absolutely true. I'm providing specific assistance to both parties in the same transaction. That is 100% legal. You can get paid both sides of the commission, no problem. Okay? All right, so it says a neutral licensee is a licensee that provides specific assistance to both consumers in a real estate transaction, but does not represent. Represent means warrior champion. Represent means to me the difference between having a boyfriend and a husband. What's the difference between a boyfriend and a husband?
You gotta keep the boyfriend happy. There's no covenant.
There's no covenant, right? I'm not sure, you're not my husband. So there's things that I don't, like if you look for it this way, I don't owe you, right? I don't owe you because we don't have a legal relationship. Okay, when you have a boyfriend, you have the right to do what?
Whatever you want.
Date others, might be, unless, and then if I move into an exclusive relationship, that might be different, right? But you see what I'm saying? It's a difference. Boyfriend is different than husband, would you agree? Or for you, Tim, girlfriend, wife. Or if you want it this way, I'm seeing someone, or I make them my girlfriend. Different? And how do you explain that? Tell me how you would explain that, because this is what this is. So, I mean, if you can use it in a different relationship, you can help make people understand. So if we're just dating, what does that mean?
We're just seeing where yeah.
Yeah, we're
seeing
seeing where it
going in the
goes,
future.
right? We like each other,
Mhm.
we're interested, we're
We
dating.
like each other, but we don't know each other.
But we don't know each other, and we're not ready to do what?
Go to the next step.
The next step would be to maybe
be-
more formalize
yeah.
our relationship. Okay? You got that?
Yes.
Okay, and does that make sense? And then what happens when you wife someone up, Tim?
You seal the deal.
That's a totally different deal,
Yeah.
right? Okay, more formal. You owe them more things. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so I think the easiest thing for me, you guys, is I describe this like family relationships. You know, family relationships, that makes a lot of sense to people who have to kind of like try and wrap themselves around these, we picked these phrases out of the world, neutral licensee, what? Okay, neutral licensee. You behave in this way with a lot of different people. If you have multiple siblings, you know how to be a neutral person. If you have multiple children, you know how to be a neutral person. You know, if you work in a job where you have different competing interests, you know how to be neutral. Okay, go ahead.
So because I've been working with the seller.
Yep.
Lots of conversation. I know a lot about his life and his
Sure.
finances and stuff, but this other gal is a friend and I know a lot about her
Sure.
life, her finances.
Okay, but here's the good news.
So if I move into neutral,
Here's the good news though, and this is something that I absolutely trust that you can do. You never, ever were able to discuss or disclose any of that confidential information anyway.
and that is like, everything I know is very locked in.
Absolutely.
It's locked up.
Nor, exactly. So even if you'd only have this guy over, your seller over here as a listing, even though you know all of this information, you are never able to discuss it anyway. That's completely what? Confidential. Remember, one of the very first classes I gave you was on what? Confidentiality. I cannot discuss without written approval seller's motivation, their financial ability, whether or not they're motivated, or I can't discuss that. I never could. So even if you know all kinds of information about this person and all kinds of information about this person. Oh, by the way, that's life, isn't it? Don't you know all kinds of personal information about lots of people that you do what? You never discuss. Okay, so that's being a good licensee. And by the way, that should be the way that you operate your business. You do not discuss your sellers or your buyers' confidential information with anyone. You really don't. And if they give you written permission, here's something I'm always going to ask you. I want to see it. I hear everybody all the time go, I have their written permission. I'm like, really? Let me see. Then they're like, well, they told me I could. I'm like, written permission. Okay, see the difference? Okay, so duties owed by a licensee. Not intentionally taking action which is adverse or detrimental. Oh, by the way, we talked about that. Timely disclose conflicts of interest. Okay, you can do that. If it matters outside of your expertise, you can do that. Not disclose consumer confidential information. You weren't able to do that anyway. Not disclosing the terms, the amount of money a consumer is willing to pay or accept for property is different than what a consumer has offered or accepted. Oh, by the way, everything being a neutral licensee is exactly like being the other. Do you get that? Okay, the only thing is you have to now do that with 2 people instead of just 1, okay? If authorized by the consumer, the neutral licensee may analyze and provide information on the merits of a property or transaction, discuss price and terms and conditions that might be offered or accepted, and suggest compromises to assist consumers in reaching the agreement. That is a higher acknowledgement that they have to give you, okay? And then designated licensee is really simple. What is designated licensee? Explain it to me. It's super simple.
It's where maybe I came across with this gal. I don't know.
Should I just tell you? Should I just tell you?
Yeah.
It's where.
So why did you do that to me?
Because I'm seeing what you know. It means that it's an in-house transaction. It means you share the same broker.
Oh.
Designated licensee is super simple. It's an in-house transaction. Means the buyer licensee and the listing is held at Jack White, and the buyer licensee is working for a licensee who works at Jack White. That's designated licensee. Very simple. No big deal. An in-house transaction, meaning both parties are going to share the same broker. Okay?
I have a quick question about
Yes.
that. If it's like the Valley versus us, is it still in-house?
Absolutely,
Okay,
because
so
Gabe
that way.
Steffen is still the broker, although Patty and Cohen is the broker in charge in the Valley office, and she's going to weigh in, trust me when I tell you. Okay. Okay, so we print consumer's name here. This is the big change. Used to be, I used to print my name first. Okay, so print consumer's name here. So Bob and Joe Smith have read the information provided in this Alaska Real Estate Consumer Disclosure and understand the different types of relationships we can have with the real estate licensee. We understand that my name goes here, Teresa J. Block of Jack White Real Estate, will be working with me, us, under the relationship selected below. You see where this little thing right here says initial? Mm-hmm. This is the biggest change, and this is going to get your AREX kicked back to you, where you go and you check a box instead of having the buyer or seller initial here.
Did you see MLS put a correction?
That's because we called and told them.
I saw that.
Yeah. Yep, because this is the biggest change that the Real Estate Commission wanted to see happen. They wanted to see the consumer initialing what the relationship was, okay? So specific assistance without representation, representing the seller or lessor may provide specific assistance to the opposite party. Representing the buyer or lessee only may provide specific assistance to the other side. And neutral licensee. Then neutral licensee says you must follow up and do what? Attach the waiver of right to be represented. Do you get that?
So if you had your client fill out the waiver, I mean, not the waiver.
Yep, the waiver, the AREC, yep.
Later you want to move, there's opportunity to move into neutral. Would you just have them initial and date that, or would you have them fill out a whole new one?
I would have them initial. You can make a change to the AREC. Now, here's what I would tell you. On every listing you take, one of the very questions I always wanted to ask a seller is, so I just want to let you know, Jane, that one of the reasons why you're hiring me is I plan to work my butt off to sell this house. They're like, oh, okay. That also means that I may have a buyer client who may want to purchase this property. In that case, is that okay with you? And most of them are gonna be like, yeah, of course it's okay with me. That's what we're hiring you for, right? Okay, well, I just wanna make sense. Then you slip in the neutral licensee and you say, in order for me to do that by law, I have to have you sign the neutral licensee. And this is a legal requirement, again, of the state of Alaska. Who's making you sign this? State of Alaska, that formalizes that if one of my buyer clients would like to see this property, you are pre-authorizing me and allowing me to show them property, understanding that our relationship would have to change in that instance. If that buyer chose to make an offer on that property, I could no longer represent you. I would have to provide specific assistance to you both. Okay, and that's where, again, those family relationships, make a good deal of difference.
So it doesn't hurt, so if they mark this, then you can do the waiver at the same time.
Absolutely.
You don't have to come back and do the waiver
Absolutely.
if you find.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, or
Well,
if
that would be simpler.
that's easier. And then if a seller is kind of like, well, I don't know how I feel about that, or if they say, no, I absolutely want you to represent me, then you know that they're not playing. Now, the only time I've ever had a seller say, no, absolutely not, guess who they were? They were an attorney, and they wanted to be represented. Period.
I missed what you were saying. Say that again, that scenario.
So she doesn't have to have, at a listing appointment, you don't have to have the waiver of right to be represented signed. You don't have to do that. You could, if you got put in the situation where a buyer client wanted to view the listing, you could go back to the seller.
Okay.
But my point is, get it done at the listing. Make sure that they, ask the question so that you find out if that's going to be a problem for them. So then you don't have to go back and make another trip back to the house to have them sign.
Even if they've just signed,
Sure.
you're representing the
Sure.
seller, just get it signed.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Explain to
I
them
see.
neutral licensee and have them sign the waiver. That's just the smart thing to
But
do.
if you do move into neutral, they will have to go back.
Correct. And then you have to go back, and going back, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you're in an area where I'm running around, going across the Mat-Su Valley is quite a ways away, right? So I might want to have it done at the listing appointment. Anytime you have the opportunity to get something done on the upfront end, and I bet working with Ava, you've really come to understand the benefit of having as much done on the front end. And she likes to call it rolling out a listing, I believe, is what she always tells me. She goes, when I roll out that listing, I want that property to be immaculate.
Yeah.
Because the first 2 weeks are the best marketing exposure you ever get to a listing.
Now, I understand the idea, you want to get that signed, but if you're presenting it to them in the beginning and it isn't a neutral licensee situation, are you going to have them mark
Both.
both?
Yes.
And they say, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you're the buyer,
That's right, I'm going to get.
and you're
Right.
getting full commission, maybe.
That's right. And by the way, I think I call it sell it. I sell it to a seller saying, you're hiring me to sell your house, right? You do understand that I have buyers. I will meet buyers. I mean, if I don't lie to somebody and say, I currently have a buyer right now, I don't tell them that. But I say, I will meet people who at any given point in time where this might be the perfect property for them, and I'd like the ability to sell them this property. Do you have a problem with that? And they're like, well, does that mean you're going to make both sides of the commission? You're going to be like, absolutely. I'm going to make both sides of the commission. Yes, I am. Okay, not a problem. Okay, now the waiver of right to be represented, let's go over this. Okay, so this would happen for example, I have a buyer client, again, I have a buyer client who I meet, who I know right now has expressed an interest in a property that I have a listing that meets their qualifications. Okay, so I'm going to ask them to execute this form. Okay, and then if I have a seller, if I go to a listing appointment and I'm working with 5 or 6 buyers, and I know that one of my 5 or 6 buyers, this might be a perfect match for what they're looking for, again, I'm going to talk to them about going into the neutral licensee position. Now, here's the one thing I'm not going to do personally. I'm not going to tell my seller when I'm listing the property that I have a buyer that might want this property. Okay, because you always end up looking like a fool if they go in there and go, I hate this house. This is such a dump. then you look kind of terrible. I say I might have a buyer that might be interested in this property. I don't know until they see it. It may or may not be a perfect match. It does fit, I always use the word, it fits their criteria. But I won't know until they, you never know until they see a property whether or not it's the perfect property. Okay? All right, so the waiver. Occasionally a licensee is representing a consumer that has interest in acquiring property where another consumer is also represented by the same licensee. Prior to showing, this is the big deal. This is a big mamma jamma. Prior to showing, the licensee must obtain written approval from both consumers to change their working relationship from representation to providing specific assistance in a neutral capacity. In Alaska, real estate licensees are required by law to provide this document prior to providing specific assistance to the parties in conjunction with the AREC. And outlining the duties of a real estate licensee when acting in a neutral capacity. Duties of a neutral licensee. A neutral licensee is a licensee that provides specific assistance to both consumers in a real estate transaction. Duties owed by a neutral licensee include, guys, this should sound very familiar, exercise of reasonable skill and care, check, we already can do that. Honest and good faith fair dealing, timely presentations of all written communications, disclosing all material information known by a licensee regarding the physical condition of the property, timely accounting of all money and property received by a licensee, not intentionally taking actions which are adverse or detrimental to a consumer, timely disclosure of conflicts of interest to both consumers for whom the licensee is providing specific assistance, advising a consumer to seek independent expert counsel if a matter is outside the expertise of a licensee, not disclosing consumer confidential information. So even if I wanted to, I cannot disclose confidential information during or after representation without the written consent of the consumer unless required by law. And in order to be required by law, you would have to be under a subpoena or a court order. And not disclosing the terms or the amount of the money a consumer is willing to pay or accept for the property, sign and date here. And then here's your additional authorization. And boys and girls, you can, again, I would suggest you get this signed right now. Or you can make it a business practice to wait unless you're put in the position. But it's if authorized by consumers, the neutral licensee may analyze and provide information on the merits of a property or transaction, discuss price and term conditions that might be offered or accepted, and suggest compromise solutions to assist them in reaching agreement. Oh, and what that means, by the way, if you don't have that additional authorization signed, that means all of those particular outlined items that we just read, that you cannot do them. Let's say that again. Make sure you understand that. So if I don't get this additional authorization signed, that means I cannot analyze and provide information on the merits of a property or a transaction. That means I cannot discuss price terms and conditions that might be offered or accepted. And it means that I cannot suggest compromise solutions to assist them in reaching agreement. Okay?
Makes it a little difficult.
So, okay, so hang on a second.
No problem.
Okay, so
If you
Why
don't,
would the signatures be under this instead of just dates? This is weird the way this is structured.
I can't answer that. I'm
Is
not
it
the state of
weird how
Alaska.
this is-
I don't.
Shouldn't this be initialed or something?
You can initial, you could have them do that if you want to.
Initial what? Well, look how weird this is presented. Normally, if you're agreeing.
No, it's a sign and a date.
Sign.
It's a sign and a date.
Sign and date.
The sign and date, the sign and date above, the sign and date below.
I see a date.
Sign and date. You're not just gonna, not above, look, you're above, you're not just gonna date the form, you're gonna sign it, correct? They're not going to sign, you're not going to just date it, you're going to sign it. This mimics
How weird is
this
that?
up here, this signature and date. It's not weird at all.
Shouldn't it say a buyer or seller or something? Like it does here. How incongruent is this?
You had an opportunity, you had a 6-month opportunity to talk to the real estate
We put
commission.
our input and nobody listens.
Show me the input that you sent to the state of Alaska on how this
It
was
could just
written.
say consumer.
Of course it should. See how,
Yeah, this one says
of
consumer.
course it does.
What difference does it make? Are you not able to explain to somebody that they should sign it and date it? I mean, seriously, is that outside of your wheelhouse? I don't believe that.
Well, that's why I was asking you. That's
Sign
exactly.
and date. That's not, I mean, what's the problem? Sign it and date it. I don't see the problem.
Whatever. They designate us under, it's whatever.
What is an example where it says analyzing, providing information and reporting on the merits, discussing the price, terms, or conditions that each consumer would or should offer or accept?
So just imagine, okay, so let's say I'm the licensee and you're the buyer and Tim is selling his house. And I am providing, I'm a neutral licensee, providing you both specific assistance. So all of a sudden, you as a buyer are going to be asking me questions about how you should structure the offer.
Would the seller be willing to come down 10 or 15,000?
Can't answer that question. Well, I never could answer that question anyway. That's confidential information, isn't it? Okay,
Well,
so
what
I
do you
can
think
say,
I should offer?
okay,
What's a good
there you
offer?
go. What do you think I should offer? I think you should offer whatever you're comfortable paying. Okay?
Okay.
Right. Now, if you want me to do some, if I have the additional authorization to analyze, I can then bust out statistics, right? I can show you what similarly situated properties in the surrounding area. If I have permission, I can do actual CMA, okay? Or if I have the
Do
seller's.
you know his bottom line?
Okay, of course I know his bottom line, and that's confidential information. I wouldn't share that in any way with you. Okay?
Teresa, honestly,
Why is
truly,
he
nobody knows their bottom line until they've offered in front of them.
I have the information that he provided me when I did the seller's net.
But why are they selling?
Where are they, that's confidential information. I can't
Because they don't
discuss that
want
with you.
property.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
so
they want to move, because they want to move.
If you were representing her,
Yeah,
then.
then it's a totally
whatever,
different,
Then it's a whole.
totally different deal,
conversation.
totally different.
Okay.
So typically what I see, okay, so now I'm just representing you. So Kimberly is representing Tim, okay? So here's a CMA, here's what I'm seeing.
Is
I
this a
pulled-
buyer?
Yep, she's my buyer. I represent her. I pulled the statistics. Here's what I see in the market area. I've called Kimberly. She is a great licensee, but she was able to tell me all kinds of things about his motivation. He's in the middle of a divorce. He has to move quickly. Okay? Blood in the water. Blood in the water. If she tells me that he's in the middle of a divorce, what do I know?
But
Yeah,
yeah,
this
they're
is-
motivated and
Yeah, very.
they're open to, they just made.
She should not have told you that.
You should never, ever disclose someone's motivation to sell because you never know
If it's bad.
if it's bad. Yeah, typically, and I will tell you, typically anything like health problems, divorce, you're going to get a lower offer, and typically nice things like babies and that type of stuff and job promotions, you're going to get a higher offer. I will tell you that.
Poor Tim, we've
But
got
poor
him
Tim-
married and divorced.
Yeah, I know, and wiped up, and he's all like, what? Okay. Okay.
So Teresa,
Yes, ma'am.
I get my seller to sign a neutral licensee.
Yes,
Okay.
which allows you to do what?
He only signs the top part, not the bottom.
Okay, then what do you know?
Okay. It means that when a buyer comes along, I cannot provide them. I can't analyze,
Correct,
provide information,
correct,
report on the merits of the
Correct.
transaction.
correct. So that's kind of a bad place to be, isn't it? It's being very hamstrung. It means, it basically means buyer, you're on your own.
To bring it
It
to
means that I
a
can't
deal.
discuss the price, terms, or
Correct.
conditions that each consumer would.
Or should.
Should.
That is
or
correct.
accept.
That is correct.
Suggesting compromises in the consumer's perspective for the decision.
That is correct. Isn't that a drag?
So if they don't sign that, it's just gonna be really difficult to.
I'm not saying it's impossible. It obviously depends on your buyer and how savvy your buyer is, or how a lot of buyers are very concrete about what they're willing to make offers on, or they're only willing to spend this amount of money. I'm not saying that. Some people you have all kinds of advice to share with them and they have no interest in listening to you. That happens, okay?
So if those were signed, the
Mhm.
bottom portions were signed, let's say these two people had moved into,
Mhm.
you know,
The neutral
allow me
licensee
to
position.
do that,
Mhm.
then I could say to her, well, you could certainly, make an offer for 10,000 as well.
Sure, absolutely. And I would absolutely present that offer and we'll have to see. But in that situation, guys, you're always going to be in the same position. I never know what a seller is going to do. I do know typically what sellers are going to do when they receive an offer that's $20-something thousand low. A lot of times they get very offended and they won't even respond to the offer. They just will reject it outright. However, I don't know. You never know until you see the offer and you present it to the seller, what the seller is going to do. Sometimes you're peeling them off the ceiling. sometimes they're excited they have an offer, so.
That was very helpful.
Yeah, okay. So do you see how you can work? Now, I always want to get that additional authorization signed. I actually typically believe that the additional authorization is the money. That's,
Yes. I would say that that would be it would be very difficult to really do a good job for both sides, without that.
okay, I agree. I agree.
What does providing information mean? What does analyzing mean? What does providing information mean? Give me, I want some specifics on that.
Well, sure, I can go, again, I can go back to my statistics and I can provide them information. I can, a CMA would be another piece of information that I could provide them, market stats, obviously. I could show them the other properties on the multiple listing service. I mean, those are the concrete things that you could do to help them analyze, okay? You could show them, for example, remember our stats, guys, that show what an offer is, and by the way, typically, the reason why I like to put stats into buyers' presentations and sellers' presentations is that they would already have these. I'm just telling you right now. Does that make sense to everybody what I just said?
So if you provided them information and they didn't sign a neutral, if you have a listing and of course, if the seller already moved into a neutral position, it wouldn't matter if you provided that information to the buyer before they ever sell that property. If the buyer, so get a property listed.
Okay.
And a week, 2 weeks later, out of the clear blue, we get this buyer referred to you.
Okay.
And the property listed 2 weeks ago is the perfect property for this buyer. And the seller has already signed neutral.
Okay.
You took the buyer out and provided them statistical information. And then the buyer, you showed the buyer the property you listed to because it was the perfect property. You've already provided that buyer statistical information when you first took them out the first time. Okay. If this weren't signed, you'd be in a pickle.
It could be, but that's why I think, but not everybody provides client stats. I mean, not everybody provides client stats. I like to provide client stats, but even when I provided client stats, guys, a lot of them wouldn't look at them. I mean, so, but okay, so let's just look here. This isn't the one I like. I'm sorry, let me go back. This is the one I like. This is the one I like. So here's that sold market analysis, you guys. And what does this do? That tells me every single little property, let's just say, single-family residences in Anchorage, no condos or mobile homes, okay? And let's say that they were offering in Area 15, and Area 15 is where okay? So last year, there were 351 active properties on the market. This year, there are 383. What does that tell you?
There's a little bit more now.
A little bit more than, and as a matter of fact, there's 9% more than there were. Days on market last year were 79. Days on market this year are 62. That tells me they're selling 21% faster. Okay. Number sold last year, 193. This year, 201. That means that 4% higher sold. And then sold volume really doesn't matter to anybody but a real estate agent. I mean, as far as a buyer or seller we're concerned, sold volume doesn't matter. But what does matter is what average sales prices, right? So in the Diamond area, last year, 346,601. This year, 349. So what can I? This would be important information for a buyer, would it not?
Yeah, there's more property on the market. Even though there's more property on the market, they're selling faster and they're selling for more money.
There you go. So if I can draw those three conclusions, did you just get that? More property, lasting less time, selling for more money. So if you're asking me what kind of offer you should write, that's why I use the statistics to inform people what's happening on the market. I use the statistics to inform myself what's happening on the market, and I use them to inform a buyer and a seller what's happening on the market. Okay, so last year, percent of list to sale, 99% of list to sale. So what would that tell me if you were writing an offer, Mr. Buyer?
Oh.
If you were going to accept an offer, Mrs. Seller?
You better write it pretty close.
You
to
see where I'm at? Thank you so much. So now the market has done my work for me.
On a different note, when you're listing a property and it has to sold, Mr. Seller, buyers make offers on properties. It's your responsibility to price a property that it's where it's going to sell. Buyers don't make offers on properties that are too high. Here's why.
Mm-hmm. We're right between 99% of what a seller is getting for a property right now. So this is why.
It's interesting, the one thing that I'm learning too is that you can do CMA and you can do comparables in the neighborhood and everything. There's times when a particular house has a particular drawback, even though it's kept up nicely and stuff, it might have, for example, a slope of really badly sloping.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Something that just, sorry, but you are not gonna get what your neighbor got for
Right.
his house.
Right. And sometimes we can absolutely, just like you just put your finger on it, it's a lot at a 45-degree angle. Okay? Where it has a house sitting on it. And it's got a super steep driveway, and that means it has a very steep driveway and no yard, one way or the other. Okay?
Yeah.
And you're absolutely correct. Sometimes I spy that. Sometimes I have no idea why a perfectly lovely home is sitting out there. I have no idea. I don't know what the problem is. I mean, it's priced correctly, it looks nice inside, it's in a good neighborhood, but I don't know that Cujo, they only let Cujo outside when the buyers come to show the property. I don't know. That happens.
The neighbor let Cujo out?
Like the neighbors only let their pit bulls out when buyers come to show the property, when buyers come to see the property. I can't figure out why this house isn't selling, but there's an absolute logical reason. Or when buyers are going to show the property, the C-130s are landing, landing, or the trains are going off, or I have no idea what the trouble is. Okay, but do you see why statistics can be so helpful to you when it comes to evaluating offers? They can be super helpful when it comes to pricing properties. And every single time, this one is going to come out 8/10/2015. So am I correct that I printed all your stuff by 8? That was 7? It was 7. Oh.
You just went and chose this and it sucked the information. I missed that part.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure. You just went and chose this as there. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, this is where I went.
I see. Okay.
See, and when I showed you statistics, guess what?
Perfect.
They've updated statistics for July. Look at there. 8/10 they'll update, right? This is good as of 8/10. I think the statistics I got you were as of 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've just added July in is where I'm at. They've just added July. So what do you notice? Again, all right, so average sales prices in Anchorage, $349 in January, $355 in February, $348 in March, $365 in April, May, $390 in April, $382, $374. So I throw out the low and the high, right? So I'm throwing out the $349 and I'm throwing out the $390. Okay, so I throw out the low and the high. So $355 is my low. Nope, I'm lying. $348 is my low. So $349 is my next lowest. And then what's my high?
74.
382. 382. Remember, you have to throw out your high and your low.
But the high is 390.
Right, but we just throw that out, so then we use the next highest.
Oh.
Let's see where I'm at.
No.
We use the next highest, 382, and low, I have to throw out 349, the next lowest is 348 to 382 is the lowest. Got that?
Well, that's kind of range.
Oh, but it always depends on square footage of house, lot, average. We're talking hopefully your 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house in Anchorage.
Do people get really wrapped around, how much is this per square foot?
Yes,
type thing?
yes, especially engineers or mathematicians.
Yeah. It's
Engineers.
interesting that you say that because I have a friend who's an engineer and he's always talking about that.
Mhm.
Those types.
Exactly.
And you
Or,
mentioned that.
yep.
about the square foot.
Price, they're totally wrapped around something. They make a house a mathematical equation in the house.
Yeah.
In effect, is not really mathematical.
Mhm.
Okay. And again, your buyer, so you said you had a buyer who said, I've been a buyer for 17 years. Well, here's what I would tell you right now. Gosh, if you bought, even 14 years ago, look at the equity progression you would have gotten. And every day that you wait to buy, you're just throwing more and more money away.
I think that that lady and your lady need to get together.
I know, they're perfect for one another. I've got a seller who totally doesn't want to sell her. I know a lady who totally doesn't want to sell her house.
She doesn't want to sell you.
You are a match made in heaven. Heaven. Okay.
If you've been a buyer for 17 years, let me refer you to somebody else who specializes in buyers who can last for 17 years.
Yeah, somebody who hasn't sold a house yet. No, and when you talk about putting somebody, so how much time, energy, and if somebody tells you, now, I will tell you, I told you, I met a guy who's like, I've gone through 4 agents, and I'm like, would you actually want to buy a house? And he goes, yes, and I said, then I'm your last agent, because I'm not messing about. Do you really want to buy? He's like, well, yes, I really want to buy. I said, so some of you make it a practice to take your buyers out, to go out with them and buy them coffee, go to breakfast with them, and spend personal time with them and get friendly with them in your personal life. What do I tell you about that?
Don't.
Okay, does your doctor come over to your house? Does your accountant come over to your house and hang out? I mean, are you best buds with your dentist? You see what I'm saying? Do they come and hang out at your life? Does your dentist buy you dinner? See where I'm at? So you're a professional. So keep your professional life professional, keep your business life business. So I'm not taking people out. And we're not, I mean, some people, it's their thing. If you really want to just go out and look at houses, then yeah. I mean, and I've had people in my class who, remember I told you about the guy who was an investor. He and his wife go out every single weekend and they go stop at every single open house they find. I'm like, great. But he actually buys property to invest in. Okay, so he's a real buyer. So I still like that guy. But I mean, just going, if it was just your thing every weekend, I'm going to go out to open houses, then I'm not going to treat you like you're a real buyer unless you buy investment properties. Okay, period. So I'm not going to get involved. People will tell you they're crazy. They don't wear their sign, but they will tell you they're crazy. They will tell you that they are out for 17 years. So, but I mean, there's questions you can ask. Do you actually want to buy? Because here's I have the consequence of you not buying. You've lost equity buildup and equity progression for the last 15 years. Do you see this? This is the cost of you waiting around right here. So are you done with this? Because I can project out in the future that our market should be growing 3% year over year for a next long time. So, well, oh my gosh, I didn't buy then. I'm so upset. Okay, well, yesterday's gone. You can only do something about today. But here's what I do know. If you again keep waiting, interest rates have gone down. Now, some people are afraid that they're going to buy at the wrong time, right? They're going to buy at the wrong time. That's very common. Like they're scared to dive in because if they dive in, interest rates are going to go down or another better property is going to come on the market.
One time, I went out with Ava to show properties to this younger couple they'd never bought before, and it was really interesting. She showed them about 4 or 5 different places that day, and I went along. Every place it was, so how much are utilities, and well, what if, it was like they wanted her to have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Like, you need to tell them exactly what it's going to cost to live here. And if I sell in 5 years, how much will I make? I mean, and she kept saying, look, I can't tell you what the market is going to be in 5 years. This is what it's been, And it was like they wanted an assurance that this was going to be a serious moneymaker.
And here's what I can tell you. It sounds like, and this is exactly what I would do in that situation. It sounds like you want me to assure you in 5 years that you're going to either make XYZ, save XYZ, or whatnot. I can't do that, nor can anyone else. I could lie to you and tell you what I think the projection would be. I could give you an analysis of based on what it has been, and I can show you these statistics. Here's a good thing about these statistics. Do you notice even here in January and in March, right here, properties sold for less than they're selling for right now? I mean, even right here, do you see this? Like a property in January sold for $349. If you waited the next month, it would have sold for $355. If you waited the next month, it would have sold for less. So what I do with people like that, Jean, is I put this kind of information in their hands. And I say, look, I can show you. And the only difference is they might have actually wanted to see something like this. Let me show you what the market has done so you can evaluate. And then you could sit here and you could extrapolate that out and you could decide, what you think the market's going to do.
Teresa, these are closed properties, right?
That is correct.
Okay, well, these are properties that sold 2 or 3 months ago then. So you would have had to purchase the one at 349, you would have bought that in December.
These are all the closed property in that month.
Correct.
That would have been
But
an
they bought it
offer would have been made earlier, but that's when they closed at. And that's what they got an appraisal at.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so it didn't necessarily buy that month, they had to buy it a couple months earlier.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that would have been helpful for them to know or not know. I'm just saying, when somebody wants a crystal ball, I put figures in their hands. This is what the market has done since 2001.
And it was just an interesting, of course, they handled it.
Well, absolutely.
But it was interesting for me because this young couple, it was like.
They were very concrete.
Right, and also, it was as if they wanted investment property without, without having to fix anything. It was just, tell me that if I buy it today, in 5 years, I'm gonna make $25,000.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that.
No, and here's what you say. I'm never going to be able to say that to you.
Right.
You might lose money, but statistically, what I can show you is that you're going to make money. And statistically, what I can even show you, and here's where I put the fear of God in them, the more you wait, the more you lose.
Right.
So let me put it to you differently for you to put this into your whole thought process. You're thinking in 5 years, am I going to make this? All I can tell you is no matter what, you have to live somewhere.
Well, and it's funny because if you think about it, like you say, the interest rates are going up. So if they sit around and they're thinking, I don't know, and then they finally decide, well, now they've lost that amount of equity.
That's correct, because they afford less.
Right.
Do you get that?
Yeah.
The same payment, guys, that I can qualify for today, if interest rates go up, now I'm buying a statistically inferior home.
Yeah.
Because prices aren't gonna go down to match.
Right.
That's not what's gonna happen. Okay? All right, so the last thing I wanna go, in order for us to get back on schedule, okay? We just did scripts, right?
Yes.
So how
Are
many?
we done with the AREP class?
Huh?
Are we done with our AREP
Uh-huh.
class? Okay,
Sure.
I gotta go to the stand.
Okay, go ahead. I'll leave
Have to.
I will, yes, she has to. I will leave a certificate in your box.
Okay, perfect.
Okay? You're welcome.
Thanks, Teresa.
You're very welcome. I'm gonna go over lead follow-up. So who has leads? All of you should have leads, right? Okay,
Welcome to Mike Perry TV. It is the week of May 6th through 12th. We're in our 6th week of this series. Hopefully the foundation that you're trying to create is strengthening each week as we go along. Remember, if you do the different assignments we give you, you actually progress a little bit faster. That's the purpose of homework. So before we get too far into this week, which is going to be on the follow-up, I wrote down the following. A lot of you have now registered for a complimentary coaching evaluation, and we're really excited about that. Good for you. The average age that works with us is selling between 40 and 50 homes a year in our coaching programs. Our top ones are averaging 89. Which number do you want to get to? Call us, get involved. But also, if you've covered time management, prospecting, past clients, winning a chance presentation, you should be seeing some results. And if you're not, I want you to send me an email, or I want you to talk to your broker, your manager, because you should be seeing some changes in your behavior. And of course, in the month of May, this month, in Anaheim, California, we're doing our productivity school, May 22 to 24. Since we're working hard on learning presentations, this may be something a lot of you should strongly consider going to advance or forward this whole process. So let's talk about lead follow. I'm going to start with this. What is your definition of a lead? What is your definition? And I want you to give that some thought as we start. Your definition of a lead is, because one of the probably big controversies in real estate is always this whole concept of what is a good lead. Because see, today with the internet and with all the various crazy things that you do to buy leads to avoid having to prospect, you really have to define what a lead is. See, for Mike Perry, a lead is a person who will buy or sell real estate, sign a contract in the next 7 to 10 days. That's what a lead is. Anything else is not a lead at all. Now, I know that immediately when I say that, some of you get a little nervous, your heart rate goes up, your hands perspire, you get a few goosebumps. Like, how can you say 7 to 10 days? Some of these people, it takes them months and months and months to make a decision. That's why you're not productive, because of what you just said. Top producers churn leads like any other part of the business. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. See, if you're holding on to a buyer lead for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks and months, all you're doing is spending a lot of time with no return on your investment. If you've got a seller that you've been working with for days and weeks and months at a time, hoping and praying they're going to list their home, you've walked past, you've bypassed maybe several great listings and sales you could have made. You've got to define your definition of lead, but the definition of lead depends upon how much production you want. If you want to do 4 or 5 deals a year, a lead is anybody that buys or sells between now and the time you expire. If you want to do 20 deals a year, you have to shorten the definition of a lead because you don't have time to waste. But if you want to do 50, 75, 100 deals a year, you're going to follow Mike Perry's definition of a lead, somebody that will buy or sell, sign a contract in the next 7 to 10 days. I wrote down the following: be fanatical on your lead follow-up, because they gave you their name and their number for a reason. I don't understand these agents, and I see them all the time. They're walking out the stack full of leads, and I said, let me see your leads. And you got a lead here from Mr. Jones. He wants to sell his house. Yeah. And you talked to him about 2 months ago, right? You talked to him since? No, he wasn't ready then, so wait a minute. The key to lead follow-up is constantly being fanatical, because if they say to you, I'm interested in buying or selling, we're not saying it because they have nothing to do with their life. People don't want to sit around and talk to real estate agents all day long. They're doing it because they want to do something. Well, like if I'm fanatical and they don't want to do anything now, what do? Based on your definition of lead, you take it the wrong way. See, for me, if they said, Mike, I'm interested in selling my home, I'd say, great. When do you want to do it? I want to do it about 4 months. Great, here's my name and number, call me when you're ready. When do you want to sell your home? Well, as soon as I can. Great. That fits in my 7 to 10 day period, and I go right after them. Well, I call them twice in the first 10 days, and they stall me and they put me off. Well, we're not sure what we're going to do, and we're not really ready, and maybe we're going to wait a few months. Call me when you're ready. Then I'm going to go find the next one so I can achieve the goals that are set. So I wrote down, we have to learn to throw leads away, because the better we become at building our business prospecting lead generation, the fewer leads we actually need. See, the truth is, if you want to do 50 listings in the next 12 months, you probably only need to have about 70 great listing leads, don't you? Because you'll convert most of them to appointments and contracts. I've had people that have 300, 400, 500 leads. They're doing 10, 12 deals a year. That doesn't even make sense. See, the truth is, as you become more productive, the number of leads in your stack decline. You don't need to have a lot of leads. So I want you to learn to throw leads away if they're not motivated. Now let's stop. Motivated. The key to a great lead is the motivation of the potential buyer or seller. Everything depends upon that motivation. If they really have the desire to do something, they're going to set an appointment and sign a contract with somebody, hopefully you, ASAP. But you see, guys and gals, if they don't have any motivation, why are you talking to them? And I have agents say to me all the time, well, I talk to them and 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 talk to them. I can help them discover their motivation. You gotta be kidding me. Don't you think you're gonna motivate a person that doesn't want to buy or sell, and suddenly buy or sell because you're talking to them? Why? Everybody tells me I'm a pretty good motivator of real estate people, and I can't get half of you to do anything I say. And I'm giving you a basic foundation for building a successful career and making a lot of money. I can't get you to do it. And you're going to take a person that doesn't want to sell and talk you into selling? Come on, grow up. That isn't going to happen. Throw that lead away. Each week, I want you to take a careful look at all the leads you have and see how many will sign a contract in the next 7 to 10 days. So let's do a little exercise right now. I want you just to stop and write down, how many total leads do you have in your database, in your computer, in your software, on your 3x5 cards, on sheets of papers, napkins from bars, matchbook covers? How many leads do you really have? Come on, be honest. And then I want you to look at those leads right now and say to yourself, how many are going to sign a contract in the next 7 to 10 days? Now, here's what I see in seminars every day. I got 42 leads, and I have 2 that will buy or sell in the next 7 to 10 days. I got 21 leads, and I have 1. And I've heard this one. I got 15 leads, and I don't have 1 person that's going to sign a contract. Get to work. Is there anybody in your marketplace that's going to buy or sell a home within 5 miles of your office in the next 5 days? I'll bet there is. Are they going to call you? Bet they're not. You need to find them. There are leads out there that want to buy or sell. So I wrote down, since we have 7 to 10 days to convert a lead to an appointment, don't be afraid to be aggressive. Don't be afraid to be aggressive. Now think about this, okay? Honestly, how often do you lose deals because you're too aggressive? Come on, be honest. How often does your broker get a phone call about you? I'm not going to work with Maria, she's too aggressive. It isn't going to happen, guys and gals. So be more aggressive. Watch, they're looking for an agent that will take a stand, tell them the truth, and do the job. And you can start that process with them in your lead follow-up. Then I wrote down, remember that lead follow-up is like prospecting, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game, that's all it is. You got to play the game. You're going to churn leads on a regular basis. So the next few points, though, are the ones that you really have to focus on. I wrote down leads have no actual value. Appointments and contracts have value. Leads have no actual value. Okay, you have what, 5, 10, 15 leads right now? How big a check would I write you to buy those from you right now? You're going to say to yourself, well, you wouldn't give me a penny for them. Right, because they don't have any value. And then I wrote down, since we all have the same leads, thinking they're going to grow and get better makes no sense. Everybody has the same leads. The person that calls them first gets the contract signed. Then I wrote down, leads do not represent security. Their names on a piece of paper or in your computer. And since most of us overprotect our leads because we believe nobody else has them, and we already agree that everybody has the same leads, be more aggressive in your approach. Now, people say to me all the time, so what's the ideal lead follow-up system? And the truth is, go down and spend a couple of bucks and buy a stack of 100 3x5 cards. And every time you get a lead, name, address, phone number, email address in the top left-hand corner. Top right-hand corner, B for buyer, S for seller. Okay, which one is it? On the bottom of the 3x5 card, the date you acquired it, March 13th. And then next to it, the date you're willing to throw it away if they don't do anything. And if you can't write down a date, you're not following the good lead follow-up system whatsoever. Well, what do I say to all these leads when I call them? Ring, ring, ring. They say, hello, hi, Mrs. Smith, it's Mike. Do you folks still have to buy or do you still have to sell your home? Well, yes, we're still talking about selling our home. Can we start a budget for this week? No, we don't want to do anything probably now until August. Okay, call me in August. Throw them away. Simplify, be aggressive, do your job. Convert the leads to appointments, which makes the whole process worthwhile. So I wrote down a couple things for you to do this week. Call every lead you have and ask them for an appointment. Call every lead you have and ask them for an appointment. Then throw away all those leads that are not going to do anything in the next 7 to 10 days. Believe me when I tell you, you're going to feel better. You're going to become more aggressive. Here's the fun part. You're probably going to have to do some prospecting. Have a great week. Talk to you next week. Hey, don't forget, Productivity School in Anaheim. You probably need to be there. Have some fun. Bye-bye.
Now, does that make anybody, even me hearing that makes me angry?
Well, when he said they don't want to buy till August, throw it away.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, no, put it in your call in August.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. Because I know when I hear him say that, I get mad. I'm being really honest.
Not that I'm any kind of expert, that's what I would do. What you have to lose.
Yeah, seriously. But what is his where is he coming from? What's the place he's coming from? If you really, really, really want to get productive.
Work with those that are ready.
Right. Work with people.
Don't sit around, wait for people that may be ready in 2
Yeah.
or 3 months.
Yeah, I'm going to be ready in August. And then what happens, if you've been waiting, so here is the issue. If you are counting on August having that listing, so you're saying to yourself, okay, in August I have a listing. Okay, and then you sit back and then August comes. And then they're not ready to list because you've been doing nothing, waiting for them. What happens? You've been, I think in people's minds, they count on that.
Yeah.
So then what happens? Then you don't have any business. Then you're way behind because you haven't even been prospecting. So his bottom line is, if somebody's not going to buy within the next 7 to 10 days, or they're not going to list within the next 7 to 10 days. Now, I'm not saying that getting a property ready to list isn't a progression. And I know there are some really good licensees that sometimes it takes people months before their property is going to be on the market. But that means they're doing, as long as somebody is doing all of the things that I'm asking them to do to get their property ready to list, I'm working with you. The day you tell me, yeah, we're on hold, I'm going to put you in a cold pile.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, and I am sincerely, I'm going to move you out of my mind space that you're a client. Do you see where I'm at? And I'm certainly not going to count on you. And I'm certainly not going to take buyers who want to go look at property. I'm certainly going to go to open house and try to get some live buyers who are out actively looking for property. Why do we do open house, boys and girls? Why? So you can find an actual buyer who has their highness out of their house, off their computer, looking at houses. Because that is 150% more active lead than the guy who's on Zillow going through photos. Somebody who got in their car and drove to a house is somebody who has some semblance of motivation. Similarly situated, the lady who comes walking in from 6 doors down, who got up off her couch to come to the open, has some semblance of motivation. You know, the people who are just out there, oh yeah, you know, because in theory, I'm a client of yours someday because I am going to sell my house. But if you all sit back and go, well, I'm going to sell Teresa's house, and you're not actively, you see where I'm at? So you really do. Your job is to, I need people today in the pipeline. I can't, if I've got, and what's really good is you can build your, I call it FB, not Facebook. What do I call FB? FB.
FB.
FB. Future business. Future business. Okay? If I trust me when I tell you, somebody who says that they want to sell next year, that's good for me. As long as I stay in touch with them, and as long as I know that they're maybe going to sell next year, then I don't count on them. That's the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Because it's when you start counting on somebody, that's where the disaster hits. Okay. So how many leads do you have? So you've got.
Boy, how many actual leads? I'll have to do what he said and look at my contact people and write down.
Okay.
I did call somebody yesterday. Chris said, I overheard that these people were talking about downsizing and they seemed pretty serious. So I got from church right away, called them.
Excellent.
Left them a message today.
Great.
Answer, but I let them know.
That is fantastic. Yeah, you're seriously looking. I
So
understand.
I'll follow up in person because I just left a message.
Wonderful.
I thought I want to talk to them before they talk to anybody else.
Exactly.
Gee, I wish I knew more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's nothing that's worse than finding out, and I will tell you this, I don't, you know, I think I have a future business and I'm just not on the same rotation. I am trying to follow up with them. I am trying to kind of drip campaign with them. Do you know what we mean by a drip campaign? I'm going to passively stay in contact with them versus actively. But what will drive me crazy is when you find out that, oh, darn it. Yeah, I met somebody and I ended up writing a contract. You missed him in the night. That does end up happening. Okay.
Can
Yeah.
I take a picture of my business card and post it on my Facebook page?
Could you? Of course you can. Sure. We can get an actual camera-ready copy from upstairs too. Another check picture of it. You can get a nice mock-up of it, the one that we do. Maybe that might be nicer.
Trish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and I'm also a collector of leads. I collect leads, but what happens when you don't do anything with them?
Shame on you.
What's that?
We find another person that will do something
So what's your job?
to keep in contact.
And how are you going to do that? What's the easy? I mean, you can have very elaborate systems. We have a CRM, or a client relationship manager. Okay, it's called Customers for Life. It comes on with your website, so you can be putting people in that. So you can be setting people up on what we call campaigns, buyer campaigns, seller campaigns. You can be doing that. That's something certainly that would be something you could do. Buyers, you can put them directly into Flex, right? And you can be sending them out email blasts. Okay, that's passively, and you can tell when they're looking at people, right? And we just learned how to do an email blast. How hard was that? Okay. But you're going to send the email blast to who first?
Me.
Before you send it out, you're going to check the link and make sure it's the one you want. Okay. All right. Okay, boys and girls, guess what time it is? We're done.
Yay.
I owe 3 people in here a certificate. I didn't sign it and I have to go make copies. With your permission, can I put it in your box? Or if you're coming tomorrow, I'll have it for you tomorrow.
I'll be here tomorrow.
You'll be here tomorrow? Okay, was that okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Are you coming in tomorrow?
There's no class tomorrow.
Oh, there's no
Or
class tomorrow.
Thursday.
Wednesday, thank you.
Good, because I filled in for Floor in the morning because I didn't know.
Is that okay? Is that okay that I bring you a certificate? I can also email it to you. Yeah.
I just did this and got a certificate on it.
Oh, so you're good? Okay.
This weekend.
Okay, so then I owe just 2. And I'll put it in your box.
Well, I like getting it over and over.
Yeah, isn't it
And
good?
from different perspectives and different explanations.
Well, and something will finally hit with you, and what always hit with me is,
Will finally hit with me.
well, for something that always made sense to me is when somebody says, okay, think of relationships that you actually have, or this might actually be a thing. And I was like, okay, well, I have 2 kids. Oh, okay. Okay, neutral. I have to be neutral with my children all the time, right? So I totally understand that. I can't have one kid. Can you believe both my kids hit me up to